All right. Good evening, people of Earth. Thinker St. James here, along with my good friend Chase Parton. And this is the Free for All, where we go over all the comedy and the tragedy in the world of mixed martial arts. Chase, how are you, brother?
I am doing fantastic. This is going to be another great iteration of the free for all. Absolutely, I'm excited.
Yes, indeed. Always interesting things going on in the MMA space. Lots to talk about. Of course, this is the show where Chase leads the ship. He has a whole bunch of stories that he is going to be presenting, and we will be giving our thoughts. But of course, Chase, as you know, we do this often. We give our thoughts very often. And we got other people to consider here. We've got other opinions that we need to have represented, other people who need to give us the knowledge that they have as in the space as we are. So, I mean, like, we need to be representing more diverse voices as far as the thoughts that people have. And to do that tonight, we have some special guests. So, ladies and gentlemen out there, I present to you Dino, Bam Bam, and DS. Together, they are the 10-7 MMA. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
What's going on?
Yeah, absolutely, man. How are you guys? I mean, DS, let's give a great introduction because you got here a little late. I'm not going to hold it against you yet because the show has just now started and you are my guy. I appreciate you for stopping by. We got some great stories for you. So Bam Bam, DS, I mean, is there anything you guys want to run down for your channels? And do you have a little introduction that you want to spiel before we get started? Or are you guys just locked in? I mean, what's the deal?
DS, you go for it, dog.
All right.
I mean, we're the 10-7 MMA, right? We do kind of the same thing you guys do here. So you can find us on YouTube at the 10-7 MMA, on Instagram, same way it's spelled, the 10-7 MMA. Just happy to be here, to be honest.
Hell yeah. I mean, guys, I know we're stoked. I know everybody in the chat. We'll give a few shout outs real quick. I mean, everybody in the chat who's here early, MMA Now and Vex. Appreciate you guys, of course. But we got some stories. So we'll get into them. We'll get to them quick. This first
Absolutely.
one. Yeah, I mean, this first one, it goes back, to last week. And I know we all have mixed emotions. Now, this one, I just want to get a vibe, because I think this story right here, this one's a little hammy. I think this one's a little made up just for a little tagline. And you may not think it's who it is, but we're going to get into it real quick. Carlos Olberg apparently has lost the belt already. I don't know if I believe this one. Thinker, do you have anything to say about him going out drinking, handing the belt off to probably Tai Tuivasa, and he traded it off for a shoe? I mean, what are we thinking here?
Well, that was going to be my question. Is when he says lose the belt, I mean, he literally, he misplaced the belt. Like, it was, he walked away from the bar real quick. It was sitting on the counter and then came back and it was gone. This is like Makhachev's shoe situation. What's going on here?
I have no idea. Bam Bam, what are you thinking?
Look, man, I picture Carlos Ulberg, and this is no shade towards anyone from CKB, but I picture him when he goes out at a bar or a nightclub. He's one of those guys in like a mesh cutoff, see-through mesh cutoff. Probably found himself a nice young man that he was enjoying while having a couple drinks, gave it to him, trying to impress him, and one thing led to another. You know what I mean?
Dude, that's one hell of an idea. Can you confirm or deny that this is what happened?
Yeah, I feel like it's hard to throw it back when you've got the belt. You know what I mean? Like, it affects your range of motion when you're throwing it back. Like, if you've got a belt kind of tightening up that area. So I mean, I get it. I respect it. Like, I probably wouldn't be twerking with the belt on either. So,
but this is a professional here, though. I mean, that Carlos Olberg has a history in the professional dancing arts. So, I mean, I would think that maybe something like that wouldn't be so much of a hindrance. He might be able to fight through that.
You guys aren't thinking about it. This is a weight around his waist. He's clearly working out at all times at this point. But I mean, if he lost his main thing to get his workout with his twerking, I mean, it's unfortunate at this point. I just feel bad for him. But I just don't know if I believe it. First off, I mean, I know the Islanders love to drink, but first off, he never really gave me the vibes as a big drinker. Am I the only guy who thought this?
I don't
He,
think that.
he, he
Yeah, sorry,
looks
go
like a
ahead.
party animal.
Does he? Okay. I mean, with that
I
profession in
feel
his
like all
past, I
those
guess.
guys, like I feel like, yeah, I feel like anybody from that region parties. They're like the
The-
Irish of that part of the world, kind of. You know what I mean?
Oh, this is a good one. So this is just ingrained in them. It's just party animals from the jump. Okay, I like it. All right, I
Well, I think
believe
that
it.
I think that when it comes to Olberg specifically, why you don't get that impression is because he didn't give you the impression that he does anything. He's just a kind of a personalityless guy to a lot of people. So not really like somebody that you can consider like jumping out of a plane or doing any kind of anything.
This is where thinker. Listen, this is where you're gonna show your bias, dude. You said he doesn't do anything, kid. He just had surgery actually earlier today. Knee is.
Well,
He will be back in 12 months, maybe. I don't know. What are you guys thinking? DS, you go first this time. What are you thinking about the knee, man?
Was it confirmed an ACL? Yeah, right.
I would.
No.
Okay, I would.
Was
n-
it?
not
Yeah.
Hey,
confirmed,
go
but I
ahead.
mean
A
everybody's
knee
going off
surgery.
of. Oh,
Go ahead,
is that
Bam Bam.
yeah.
Yeah, look, I mean, we haven't seen anything confirmed yet as to why he had the surgery. We all have our assumptions. I mean, it looked bad, right? It looked
Fair.
like at very least the meniscus, an ACL, MCL, one of those.
I feel like it has to be an ACL, like because it was very unstable, right? So I feel like the ACL is typically what causes like instability,
Mm.
right?
Well, and I think that the only thing that has really been the main driver of anybody's thoughts is Dr. Brian Sutterer here on YouTube, who had kind of covered it and gave his thoughts about it, but no actual confirmation from anyone on that side of the world as far as his team or anything.
Yeah, but the thing that I'll say about him, and I was going to bring him up as well, like the biggest confirmation that we have is unfortunately a YouTube doctor kind of deal. And what I will say to that point is I've watched him before this incident. I've seen plenty of his content long before when it comes to basketball injuries, football injuries. He seems to be on the ball. I will not doubt him. What I would say though, from the looking at the injury myself, when again this goes back to watching basketball, we see a lot of Achilles injuries. You see like the muscle, the tendon, like shoot like up the leg, like all the way up to his knee. DS, that's all right. We'll get you back. And then
Apologies.
no, you're good. And so like when you see that like muscle tendon like shoot up the leg, I thought Achilles instantly, because like the way that he stepped back on it, he kind of extended his leg, his ankle in a way. That was my thing. But if it was a knee unconfirmed, who knows? But at least we know he got surgery. So Bam Bam, anything else?
Yeah, believe it or not, very randomly, I'm actually coming off of a torn Achilles myself.
Oh, shit.
And weirdly enough, ACL tears. This guy underneath us knows a little something about that. I tore his knee one time playing basketball with him.
You did. That was also an unconfirmed kind of injury, but it was also like the stupidest fucking like just the fattest possible way to get injured. Like this guy like tripped and like was falling very slowly and just like rolled over my knee and I just didn't move it in time. Yeah, it was that was you pretty much ended my basketball career that night. So
Sorry
Yeah.
about
Yeah, so no one won the belt then.
Yeah, true, basically. Yeah, think
Yeah,
of
and then
DS
we also
was
weren't
partying.
working at the club after, unfortunately.
Right,
but-
exactly.
True.
facts. But so, thinker, what
Yeah.
about this injury? I mean, so when you see the injury, you obviously everybody says that a long time is going to need to take place before we get him back in action. We see he's instantly went under surgery. Obviously, the first day he could, or whatever you want to say. I guess it's fucking Thursday or whatever. I mean, Jesus, he could have got it on Monday, but I guess he's been hobbling around for a little bit. Who knows?
They usually
what do
wait
we-
for the swelling to go down a little bit.
All right, cook me. I swear, I'm glad we brought other people.
Well, you
along
got
because
got
these are the
experts on the
insights.
subject here,
True, you're right. So, I mean, what are we thinking? Are we going to see the light heavyweight belt defended at the end of 2026, or are we thinking of 2027
Oh,
defense?
yeah, 2027 would be my guess. I mean, like that,
Yeah.
I've said it before, I'll say it again. This is Hamzat part 2. I mean, you're going to have another instance of an inactive champion who I mean, and I'm not really even trying to put that on Olberg necessarily, but it's just the facts are the facts. He can't come back quicker than his body can heal. When he comes back, what that's going to look like is on the other side. Now, I mean, we just had this situation very recently, and we're seeing the fallout from that. I mean, like it's yeah, this is going to suck. To be perfectly honest, it's going to continue to suck. And then who knows how he's going to be able to perform when he comes back. That's always the other part of it. It's one of those situations where now he comes back. Oh, I'm 100% best camp that I've ever had. We're going right back in there. We're going to defend the belt. They don't strip him and, let all of this play out. And then it's like, oh man, well, there were some lingering issues, that kind of thing. I can see it all happening already.
Well, let me ask one last thing, and then we'll loop back to you, Thinker, because I do want your opinion on this. I mean, Bam Bam DS, do you guys think that there is a chance that the title gets vacated? And if you think so, do you think that, or if you don't, do you think Carlos Ulberg should or should not? I think maybe that's the way we should start that, So, Bam Bam, you can go first this time.
Look, I mean, obviously I'm a Yuri fan, right? That goes without saying, but there has been a precedent for what it's worth set at 205 pounds. We saw it with Jamal Hill. We saw it with Yuri Prohashka. So ideally, yes, I would like that to happen. However, I don't blame the UFC, nor do I blame Carlos Ulberg for not wanting to do that. I get it, man. He won the title in very dramatic fashion, a crazy injury that occurred in the fight. So it's a little different than what happened to Yuri and Jamal Hill. I don't mind doing an interim. The problem with all of this, to be honest with you, is who deserves to fight for the belt. I don't see anybody at 205 that deserves it. I guess you could throw in Ankalaev, kind of like as a proxy, right? Like he's the guy. Is it Paulo Costa? Is it Volkan Oezdemir? Is it Dominic Reyes, God forbid? Like, who knows? I also don't think we see the belt defended this year. At best, this is like a meniscus. It's 5 to 6 months. He would still need a camp after that.
Yeah, I feel you on that one. I'm glad you brought up who deserves it. And who's going to be the contender at 205. We'll definitely get into that. So, DS, what would you say about the vacancy on the title?
Yeah, they're not going to strip him. I think that's very, very unlikely, and in part due to what Bam Bam just said, right? Like there is no clear next person up. I don't think Yuri is going to get a fourth shot, and he's probably still the most deserving, right? So, but like, yeah, you shouldn't get a fourth shot at this point, And I'm a big Yuri guy too. It's just very unfortunate, honestly. Like this just fucking sucks for the division, no matter how you spin it, really. So, yeah, I mean, I guess it's Ankalaev. They're not going to strip him. I don't even know if they can do an interim at this point, right? Like maybe maybe if we see a couple more fights happen at, towards the top of the division, maybe things change a little bit. But right now, I mean, I don't really see what fight you can even make, right? Like Ankalaev versus Paulo Costa. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
There's definitely plenty of questions, and I promise you, we'll answer some of these a little later. This is a little subtle foreshadowing for the chat here. But by the way, shout out the amazing chat. Before we get into Thinker, I know he's just bursting to talk about this one. So shout out the chat. There's been a lot of names. Not going to go through everybody. Recon MMA and Vex, appreciate you for being the only names that I can see right now on the screen. But Thinker, vacancy of the title, Ulberg deserving of keeping it. What are we thinking?
I mean, he just won it. Whether you like how it was won or not, he did do it. So, I mean, I think that it would be a little disrespectful to just take it away immediately because of the injury. We have champions getting injured in title fights, and because like the length is really what the issue would be there. But I don't think that they do it. I think that the common consensus is that if not, what I think I said on the podcast is that, this is the same division where Khalil Roundtree got hot-shotted from 10th to a title shot against Alex. There is potential for something like that, maybe, because I agree with everybody that the division is so weak right now that it's hard to, say anybody is deserving of that shot. But if there was going to be anybody, I am big on the Volkan Oezdemir camp. I know that it's, you're choosing from a shallow list, but yes, exactly.
In the big 2026 Volkan Oezdemir, that'd be wild.
The counterpoint to it is if you already did a hot shotting before and it's not going to be someone that you're familiar with, then you shoot up Ivo Baranchevsky or whoever the hell else you want at, from the lower ranks, and then you just let the cards fall as they may with some of these newer guys.
Absolutely. Yeah. Bam Bam, go ahead.
No, I love that. Yeah, give me Iwo all day. The division's in a weird place right now. It's not like the precedent hasn't been set with the UFC giving these low-ranked or unranked guys kind of like putting a rocket ship to their back and shooting them up the ratings. Give me Iwo versus like a number 10, 11 guy. He wins that fight. I have no problem with him fighting for an interim, fighting for a vacant or even like a title eliminator versus one of the guys in the top 5. I love that. We need entertaining fighters. The UFC needs more of a European, kind of just European fighters. Poland, they're big out there. I love it. Let's do it.
No, these are all really good. And actually, shout out Hydra real quick. I
Oh, hell
appreciate him
yeah.
for stopping by. But I love the comment here because Bam Bam said it earlier. And Olberg shouldn't be stripped. Of course, I don't think he should. Fair and square, he won that title. That's exactly how it went. I mean, he won the fight. No big deal in my case. He should vacate though. There's been a precedent with light heavyweight champs vacating when injured. Bam Bam said exactly that, word for word, almost. Like, did you quote him from just a minute ago? Like, did you just like copy and paste? Like, come on, Hydra, do better. But yeah. So this is an interesting story. The whole case with the belt and the division, but the better story, and this one we're not going to go into too much. Obviously this is a fan favorite, but we're just going to breeze on because we got more important things to talk about. I just want
Yeah,
to make a
Chase,
quick
real quick,
mention.
and
Oh, go
also
ahead.
real quick before you go on, let me see if this works here. Well, not that, but let's. How about this?
I don't
Sorry.
mind that.
Yeah. Well, cheers, brother.
There you
Doesn't
go.
want to keep it. Let's. There we go. Is that? Nah,
Chat.
maybe not.
Chat,
I
let
don't
us
know.
know. Do we like this one?
I
At
feel like
least
we're the
it's-
Brady Bunch right now.
That's
I
we
said
said that
this.
earlier.
Oh my goodness. It's like we're all right. Anyway, yes. So we'll do a quick runabout. We'll do one story like this. We'll see if the chat likes it or tells us to go back. But this one, quick story. We'll run it down. Fan favorite. Did you guys know? And obviously you should have because it was a big story during the week. Yuri is now a father. There you guys go. So he has now. I was gonna say had a child. He didn't do it. The wife or whatever. She did it. He was around, I guess. He did not have the championship belt. I doubtfully believe that he brought the stuffed pillow to the hospital. The one the UFC gave him of the UFC belt. I doubt that came anywhere near. Just anyway. But what do we? This was a quick story. There's nothing really else to say about it. Obviously, you guys can go ahead and take a round of applause if you want. Say shout out Yuri, DS, Bam, go for it if you want.
Yeah, congrats to Yuri, man.
There we go.
God bless all that, Mazel Tov, everything. Look, it rubs a lot of people the wrong way is something I found out yesterday. Friend of the channel, Yuri Prohashka, and people fucking hate that. So shout out Yuri, follows us on Instagram.
People hate what?
Yeah, we're gonna talk about it off camera, but I got a lot of flack yesterday from some asshole in the YouTube space. You're my best friend, Yuri Prohashka. My fucking best friend, Yuri Prohashka.
Oh yeah.
Well, shout out to Yuri and his new child being a best friends of 10-7 over here. I mean, I would say, I guess the only thing, obviously, congratulations to Yuri. Birth of child, all of that. The only thing that is slightly unfortunate is that the timing. It's like nothing that you could plan with that, obviously.
Yeah,
but
tell her to wait. Like what?
well, right. I mean, obviously you couldn't have, figured it out a little bit better to, plan this pregnancy around my next title reign. But no, it's unfortunate. I mean, he's coming off of, a situation that he essentially created in a lot of people's minds, at least, the way that he navigated that fight. And now the discourse surrounding that, you're having to compartmentalize and put that out of your mind while also celebrating the greatest moment of your life, birth of a child, that kind of thing. So it's a hard, couple of elements to juggle, I would say.
You think he's going to look at baby Eleonora in the eyes and just like see Carlos Ulberg kind of thing?
I hope it's not to that extent, but it's just a tough thing to have to like put into a different box. You know what I mean?
You know what I will say about this, and it's to Yuri's story. I mean, Yuri, he took one of the biggest losses of his life. I mean, this is unfortunately at the worst time of his life, but this is probably going to be the thing that keeps him from being in the woods for the next fucking 15 days, in darkness or whatever's going on with him. So shout out to the situation, shout out to the birth. Appreciate Yuri. He looks like he's in good. Go.
Oh, do you think that like as this child grows up that she will too have to go out to the cabin and kick trees and stuff?
No, by this time, there'll be intergender competition, and she will go avenge Yuri and get Olberg. I think that's what's going to happen.
Love it.
Yeah, no, this will be good. This will be very good. But I think the story that I really wanted to bring up, I actually moved it a little further on because you brought it up earlier when we were talking about Olberg, and you brought up Hamzat. There's a situation with him where he's not as active holding the belt. The thing that I want to talk about with this situation, and I think DS and Bam Bam, I do want your opinion on this one as well, like in depth, of course, because there seems to be a lot of talk that like does there need to be extra security for this Hamzat and Sean Strickland fight? Like, are they really gonna like kill each other? Like, what's gonna happen here? And so Hamzat made a comment, and I'm just like, why are we acting like this is like gonna be a thing? So let's listen to the video real quick. It's just 26 seconds. I haven't heard it. I just listened to I just read the little caption or whatever. So I'm interested to see what Hamzat would like to say about murdering Sean Strickland in the cage here. So if everybody would like to listen up, everybody ready? Good, cool.
Если Хамзат возьмет его сабмишеном, то тут надо будет охране разнимать, потому что как будто нет.
I did not know this was not in English, by the way. So just, if you
You might want to take it off full screen so that we can read the captions.
well, I mean, we got to get the rest of it though. It's
No,
like
I'm
a
saying
whole
just play it when it's in the small player. There you
okay,
go.
okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, I can't read it because it's anyway. If Hamzat gets into submission,
Oh,
security will have to pull him off. People think you won't let go, and then
Yeah, let it- yeah, there you go.
Может такое произойти?
could that happen, Hamzat?
Я не хочу убивать человека. Харам.
То есть убивать ты не собираешься.
Нет, что там все равно мне не дадут его убивать. Всё. На улице так. Умер как умер. В клетке это спорт.
Если
Okay, so he's saying the reporter is actually interesting as hell here because he's like, "What, you don't want to kill him in the
Yeah,
cage?"
he's instigating.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is one hell of a thing here. So anybody have any comments here? I mean, go ahead, Bam Bam.
Yeah, I mean, look, Hamzat Chimaev is an absolute psychopath, as is Sean Strickland, right? These are two of probably the most unhinged guys we have in this sport, especially in this promotion. Look, man, my cousin actually trained over in All Stars in Stockholm, Sweden. He trained there for years. The Tamer brothers are like his kids' godfathers and all that kind of stuff. So he's very integrated over there. I got to meet Hamzat's coach when they were in Chicago because of my cousin, talked to them, met Hamzat. Look, man, those guys don't fucking play, right? He takes disrespect to a whole, like, to him, if you disrespect them, it's serious. I know he's sitting there saying it's haram if I kill someone. Look, man, he's going to be trying to kill Sean Strickland. I agree. They might need extra security pre-fight. I think in the fight, he'll let go, right? Because then you start getting into legal shit and you start getting into maybe getting stripped and losing money. So I don't think it goes that far, but pre-fight, press conference, face-offs and shit like that, for sure.
DS, do you agree with the extra security comment here? You think there is?
Yeah, I mean, didn't Dana say that there would be for sure? I'm pretty sure I saw that, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, yeah, I think so, right? You know, like Bam Bam said, guys from that region, they don't take disrespect kindly. Sean Strickland, you know, alone, right? He's he can get canceled without anybody else around. So, yeah, I think there is some of this where it's like, you know, it is hyping up the fight a little bit too. So I think Dana vocalizing that is probably more fight hype than anything else. But yeah, I think it's worth having extra security here.
Thinker, what do you
real
think
quick? I'm sorry to cut you
yeah,
guys
go
off.
ahead.
We saw what happened with Sean Strickland and Drickus, and Drickus is not that kind of guy. Like Drickus is not about fighting pre-fight. Hamzat Chimaev's down to scrap, so they're gonna need it.
Yeah,
and
it might be interesting. The only thing, Thinker, you go ahead actually, because I have an incident. I'll bring up.
you know, so yeah, they're gonna push and shove each other, and you know, get into all of these things where people are gonna have to pull them apart, and then Hamzat's gonna lay on top of him for 5 rounds. I mean, it's like, okay, I mean, like, I guess, you know, fight selling and all of that. I understand that it might be legitimate in the way that they're viewing it. They know that there's not actually going to be an ability to get into it to that level. So extra security seems like a little bit of a show kind of thing to me. I don't think that either of these guys are going to get to the point where it's going to get that far. Like if they had regular amounts of security, I think it would still just be get them separated. We've been seeing this for so many years with so many different fighters who will take it to that level, even though these guys are a little bit more unhinged than that. And then you're going to end up getting the same fight that you would get either way once it goes down in the cage.
I think I also. Yeah,
sorry.
Diaz, go ahead. No,
I
go ahead.
apologize. I was going to say, I also don't like, once the fight starts, I don't see any of this really being a factor. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I don't think, like, I think it's going to be pretty professional. Like, that's usually how it goes, right? Like, a lot of hype, a lot of yapping before the fight. And then, like, well, both of these guys, right? Like, Sean Strickland is like the safest defensive fighter with the loudest mouth, right? He jabs and teeps you to hell and just stays very defensively sound. And then Hamzat, I kill everybody, and he's just going to lay on top of them. So, two guys who really do a lot of talking, and you know, it sounds cool, it sounds dangerous, and they're both obviously very good, but you know, the way that they talk and the way that they fight is very different. So I don't expect it to be any sort of factor when the fight starts.
When I think of this, I absolutely remind myself that Mokaev and Manel Kape had to be kind of separated while they were doing their little introductions, and then we watched not necessarily the most blood feuded of a matchup, but I would say there is a little difference here because those are two dudes, who don't really know each other, but disrespected each other, blah 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 blah. These are teammates to an extent. They have trained together at a certain point, have they not? So I would assume maybe there might be a little more to it if Hamza thinks, his, a friend of his, teammate kind of disrespected him. Maybe it is a little more. I don't personally believe it, but what I will say is if maybe not more security, maybe they'll have the correct age demographic for security. Because I know you guys see the people who walk them out to the fucking cage all the time, and it's like old women and like not people who should be chaperoning fights, or the people that are standing in the cage and they have their hands behind their back, and it's like it's not a good look, let me say. So they probably will have maybe some people who are in shape that are going to be the security for this one, but that's all that I'll say to it. More or less is still up for debate. Is anybody else feeling different? We still locking in more security?
I think slightly more, but yeah, I mean, you guys get. I feel like you guys all kind of have like the gist of it. Like they might need a little more, or they might just need stronger security. It's not that big of a deal, basically.
You know who actually could be security? Because this person right here, and this is a big story that nobody's really talking about. I have my own personal opinions about it. We're definitely going to get into it.
Thinker would do good at that.
Fucking go.
Listen,
Any
this
day.
story
Put me in
right
Josh
here. Oh no, not Josh Oka, buddy. No, speaking of somebody who needs to go ahead and be the chaperone and bodyguard because he's not getting into the event either way. Tom Aspinall wasn't invited to London. He probably should have picked up a side job. He probably could have made some pretty good money, separating Lerone and Movsar, whatever the hell was going on here. But what are you guys thinking here? Tom Aspinall not invited. The phrasing of that is actually the most interesting thing. As the heavyweight champ, do you need to be invited to the fucking event that you're the champ of the hometown? I don't know. This is just interesting, but go ahead. Anybody?
Yeah, I mean, I would think that we see Joanna Jędrzejczyk at literally every event on planet Earth. You'd think that there would be the courtesy of an invitation at the very least. I don't know exactly how all of that's coordinated behind the scenes when it comes to the organization and placing people and all that kind of stuff. But like, this is just another of many, many instances that extend this tumultuous relationship between Dana, the organization, Tom, and now Eddie Hearn. So, I mean, it all plays out that this should kind of like be part of that timeline, but it's just interesting to me how many like different touch points you're going to have after this relationship ends up finally going whatever direction it's going to go, where you can say there was a disrespect, there was a disrespect, there was a disrespect. It's just, you have so many of them now and they're just compiling on top of each other. So we're gonna have to see how this all ends up, but yet another one right here.
Bam Bam, you thinking this is disrespectful? What are we saying?
Yeah, slightly, right? I mean, we know how Dana White operates. When you get on Dana's shit list, you're on his shit list. Look, I think if Tom Aspinall showed up to the arena or reached out to the UFC a week or two before and said, I'm coming, then they would absolutely allow him in. That's normally the protocol. They're going to invite the people that are from that country or whatever if they are somewhere abroad. But when it's here at home, I know that the UFC fighters generally reach out to the UFC. They say, I want to be there at UFC X, whatever it is. And the UFC holds a spot for them, for coaches that are involved and all that kind of stuff. They get their own seat. So if Tom Aspinall would have reached out, they would have gave him one, I'm sure. But they didn't reach out with an invite, and that's for a reason. Tom Aspinall clearly, in my opinion at least, doesn't want to be associated with the UFC anymore, wants to get out of here, wants to go box, but he wants the perks that come with being a champion, right? Because if he goes to box or he goes to fight MMA on Netflix or wherever they're doing it, his appeal and his paycheck is way lower if he's not the UFC champion at the time. So,
yeah. Diaz, what are you saying here? This was disrespect or no?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's got Dana White all over it, right? So to me, this kind of feels like, because it's Eddie Hearn's the one who's saying it, like, oh, I'm surprised he never got an invite. It kind of feels like your parents are divorced, right? And then like your mom's like, oh, your daddy didn't want to bring you. That's really fucked up of him. You know what I mean? And it's like he's your mom is trying to make you hate your dad, kind of thing.
Yeah.
This is like really what this feels like to me. Eddie Hearn is like, oh, kind of weird he didn't invite you. So, you know, I feel like there's a lot of that. I don't know. I mean, it's definitely very Dana White like, I'll say. But yeah, it's a little disrespectful. I actually wasn't sure like how they do it. So Bam Bam, I mean, you just taught me something new. I didn't know that they just kind of let people know whether they're coming or not. So I mean, I don't know. Like, was he supposed to get an invite? I don't think it's that big of a deal, but I think it's all just petty. So
Yeah. No, and you know, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I think that is one of the things that makes the UFC so fascinating is that you have somebody in charge who is completely okay with just disregarding top level talent people. Just like, yeah, if they fuck around, they'll find out that Dana White does not give a shit. Even if they are the champ. You can be the champ for as long as you want and we will still fuck you over. I mean, like, and I don't know, it's just really interesting. I mean, Thinker. I know,
especially
yeah, go ahead.
at heavyweight. I mean, you know, Francis Part 2. I mean, we saw the a very similar situation with Francis Ngannou. It all ends up kind of shaken out that way. Francis made it work for him, and good Lord, the fleecing that he did to PFL is a work of art. But that's a unique situation to him, kind of. You know, I mean, like you're not going to get that exact set of circumstances again. So we're gonna have to see how Big Tom continues this navigation now with Hearn at the helm. But I did want to touch on one thing that Bam Bam said. You say that his stock does not have the highness if he's not the champ. You don't think that name recognition alone would be enough to carry him to a decent purse?
Of course it would, right? I mean, like anytime you're a star of any level, like leaving the UFC and you want to go box and you're able to do that, of course, like your name value is going to bring something. My point is more along the lines of think of the Francis Ngannou situation, right? Had Francis lost to Cyril Gane, or even had the UFC stripped him or whatever the case was, like if it felt rightfully done by the fan base where Francis was no longer the champion, then Francis would not have gotten that bag. To me, that was a story of Tyson Fury wanting to help him. That was a story of Francis in everyone's eyes being the rightful champion. What happens if Tom Aspinall turns out to be cleared, right? His eye injury and everything gets healed. Alex Pereira is the champion. And then we find out that Tom Aspinall has a sunset clause and he can fight. He can fight Alex Pereira, or he can just wait a year and get released by the UFC. Then he's ducking Alex Pereira, right? And all of a sudden his stock goes down. So there's a lot of weird intricacies in it. But I think if you leave and you are no longer the champion, we can't claim you're the lineal, which we still can't do. We can't claim that you're the undisputed. Then obviously your purse goes down, in my opinion.
Yeah, I actually really I appreciate that. That's a really good insight. Thinker, go ahead.
No, I agree. I mean, I well said. There are certainly a lot of elements to it, and I think also, what I would add to that equation that makes this situation uniquely interesting is the Eddie Hearn portion of it. Obviously, that is a very strategic connection. That's a very strategically motivated signing with Eddie Hearn. So Eddie might be able to have some manipulation of that a little bit. The matchmaking might also play a portion of that. But really what Bam Bam just laid out, I mean, that all tracks. So you have that basically everything that he just said, plus that added to it. There's a lot of moving parts to it. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens on the other side. Really, I mean, Tom has to, I would say, at least have one more big showing in the UFC before he does anything in this regard. And then, really the chips are going to have to fall at that point. And then all of those other elements are going to play out thereafter. But it can't be before that, because right now, based on the eye injury and however you personally feel about that and all the dynamics of it, because everybody has a different opinion of it, like the water is way too hot right now for him to be making any kind of major moves, but he's already set up with major moves thereafter with Eddie Hearn. So it's really like has a couple of things that have to happen in sequence, I would say.
Dude, this is the main thing that I want to get 10-7. I want to get the opinion on Eddie Hearn being Tom Aspinall's manager now. What do you guys think that means for the future? Because Dana White, we all know he does not like Eddie, and Tom Aspinall getting Eddie to be his manager. It was obviously, a little petty jab back at Dana, just to make his life miserable to have to deal with a dude that he doesn't, want to deal with kind of deal. But do you think this is a play that will it'd be a positive thing for Tom Aspinall in the end, or do you think that Dana White is just going to continue to screw him over because now you've even done it more? You've dug your hole deeper and deeper. DS, you go this time.
I don't know, man. I really don't. I mean, I personally don't think it's a good move for Tom Aspinall. I really don't. I feel like he's kind of being used as a tool in this situation. The situation is really more about Eddie Hearn and Dana White, right? Dana White's getting into boxing. So this felt like a chess move, right? On Eddie Hearn's part. You know what I mean? And he's like, okay, you're kind of stepping into my field. I'm gonna step into yours in a different way, right? And it's interesting too, because it's like Dana doesn't give a fuck, right? And he's playing with fire a little bit because the heavyweight division is already ass. And now without Tom Aspinall, if that ends up happening, it's obviously even worse. From Tom Aspinall's perspective, like he did not, I know it was a very short time, but it's not like he looked great versus Cyril Gane in those first couple minutes there too. So I don't know, man. It's guys making a lot of moves without like a whole lot of leverage on any one side, right? So it's pretty interesting. I think ultimately, like, I mean, Tom Aspinall's father's come out and said, right, he wants him to go into boxing, and he's been wanting to do this from the get-go. So obviously, like, there's a reason that Tom Aspinall did this. This isn't like by mistake. I'm sure he got paid and all that good stuff, but there's a reason he chose Eddie Hearn, right? I think it was too light a fire under Dana White, if nothing else. But yeah, I think he's at least positioning for a backup plan. I mean, what do you guys think? I think ultimately he does want to be in boxing.
Yeah, no, I agree too. I mean, boxing for Tom Aspinall is definitely something that is going to be in his future. Whether it happens while he should or should not be in the UFC is the main question here. But Bam Bam, first off, we got to go back. We got to get your opinion. Eddie Hearn being the manager now, what are you thinking there?
Yeah, I mean, I agree mostly with what DS had to say. I think it's very obvious what they're doing. They're not doing a great job at hiding it if that's what they're trying to do. When it comes to Tom Aspinall, I have so many opinions on the whole situation. But the thing that I keep going back to is DS mentioned the word leverage, right? Tom Aspinall has this tiny bit of leverage right now, which is the UFC title. And a lot of people think that leverage is a lot more than it actually is. Let's not forget, we already went through this with Francis Ngannou, as I mentioned earlier. And for what it's worth, in my opinion, Francis Ngannou, a much bigger star than Tom Aspinall. I just find it very ironic at this point that Tom Aspinall is, and again, I guess it depends on how you look at his injury, what your thoughts are of the eye injury. But to me, it seems like he's milking it a little bit at this point. It also feels like, hey, man, you and your fan base are doing the same exact fucking thing that you blamed the John Jones fans for and John Jones for, right? I am a John Jones fan. I don't condone all the fucking bullshit he did in his personal life, but that's not that's none of my fucking business. I'm talking about in the cage, showing up, defending your belt, fighting for the title. Again, don't agree with everything John Jones has done, but Tom Aspinall and his fans are doing the same exact fucking thing that John did, and they're trying to do the same thing that Francis did. We know that Francis got a bag, right? But what happens if Tom Aspinall goes out there like Francis got the Fury fight? It was a close fight. Tyson Fury didn't take it seriously. What if Francis goes out there and he gets Joshua or he gets Usyk and they're not fucking playing games and they knock his ass out in the second round or the fifth round or whatever it is?
Which is very likely.
Very likely, right? And he's never getting another bag. So you're getting a one-time $10 to $15 million payday. And if that's good for you, that's good for you. Dana White doesn't care. He will let go of stars. He will hold a grudge for decades. We've seen it at this point. They just brought Mighty Mouse back. Let's not forget that. They just put him in the Hall of Fame. Dana doesn't give a fuck. The product is going to move on with or without you. Without Connor, we were at 264. It's been going fine without Connor. It's been going fine without Mighty Mouse. They don't care if you think the best guy in the division is not in the UFC. People say Johnny Eblin's the best. They don't give a fuck about Johnny Eblin. We're going to act like Hamzat's the best and move on. So
Yeah,
I mean, I think the only thing I would say is that, it's going fine is somewhat, up for debate based on what we've been seeing in the Paramount era. But I get your point. You know what I mean?
yeah, I mean,
Obviously things are moving on.
You saw my video, Thinker. So I love to be negative at times, and this isn't that. But realistically, the product doesn't care. It doesn't care about you as an individual fan or you as an individual fighter. The machine is going to keep fucking rolling, dude.
Yeah.
no, I love it. I agree with everything. I'm I'm actually in awe that there are people out there who believe the same thing as me, that Tom Aspinall is out here milking this injury a
I was
little
going
bit at
to
this
say,
point.
you opened the floodgates when you said that, Bam Bam, because Chase is, such a crusader for this point.
Just to touch on it one last time, and then we're going to move on. Obviously, we got better things to talk about. But yes, at this point, Tom Aspinall has been utilizing his status as the heavyweight champion to skate by a handful of months that have gone by. We have still he just came out again and said he's not able to do like full contact practice. It's like, bro, you just said you had like 7 surgeries. Like, are you gonna we will listen. A true heavyweight is something that we need to talk about. But what I want to say is there's a great bridge coming here. If you guys did not know, there is a movie that just came out. Okay, it came out last Thursday, to be as a matter of fact. It is called Beast, right? And I can't go into too much detail, but this is just a random link up. You know, you ever see two things that don't turtle on a tree? This is that right here. So everybody put your hands together for the heavyweight king, Stipe Miocic, giving a promotion for fucking Beast movie. I don't know what he's doing in this video. I think it's literally just him working out, but we're going to go ahead and rock with it for just a second.
What would I fight for? It's not just the belt. It's not just the wins. It's my family. Everything I do, it's for them. It's legacy. What I leave behind when the lights go out. Because fighting, it's not something you turn off. It stays with you. Some battles find you. And when they do, you show up. You fight to survive. You fight for what matters. So ask yourself, what would you fight for? Go see Beast. Now in theaters.
Okay,
That's what I would fight for. I would fight for the Beast film. You know, of all of those things he mentioned, the most important one is the promotion of Lion Gates Beast, co-produced by One Championship.
I think what's funny, before I get, random opinions from you guys just on this, if you haven't seen it, I would like to make note. Stipe is not in this movie. He's not in this movie. He is also a week late. So I don't know where the promotion came across. I mean, the movie came out last week, brother. I mean, I know you want people to see it, but you should have told me when it was in the opening weekend. The box office recorded for that weekend, brother. Either way, Bam Bam, DS, do you have any opinions on the movie? Are you guys planning to go see it? Is Stipe going to make a comeback? What is this telling you right now? I mean, again, one more note on Stipe. If you guys have not kept up on Pluto TV, he has commercials. He's an actor now, guys. He is totally shape-shifting into the actor before your eyes. So go ahead, DS, you first.
So right now I'm seeing the box office is $1 million so far. So that's probably why they're hitting up Stipe. They're like, yo, give us a little bit of promo. You know, we're losing a shit ton of money on this thing. I've heard about this. I've seen some commercials about it. Apparently it's like about some old fighter who's a fisherman now. Now he's going back to fighting to help his brother. It's very much giving like a Van Damme film from back in the day. Probably not as good as Kickboxer or, one of those films. But, yeah, I don't have any plans to see it, and I still don't think I will, just because Stipe Miocic told me to do it. So, I don't think I have a whole lot more to say about it. I think Russell Crowe's a good actor. He's also a fucking insane man. Like, he's a maniac. But, yeah, I mean, great actor. So, look, when it comes out on TV, when it's streaming, I'll probably watch it.
No, I actually think that's the most key point is, Bam Bam, we'll get to you, but I think you also have to touch on this point because Stipe Miocic told you, will you go see this movie? I mean, out of all people you find, is this the only dude that said yes? Like $5,000 right now, dude, promote the movie. Like, I don't know what's happening here. This is really funny though. Bam Bam, go ahead.
Yeah, look, thank God that they had subtitles, right? Because otherwise I would not know what Stipe Miocic is telling me to do. So I'm happy they had that on there. I second what DS said. I'll watch it when it's on Netflix or Amazon or Hulu or one of the other 5 million things I pay for.
Herb Dean's in it, by the way.
Oh, that's good. They should have had Herb Dean tell us to watch it.
Yeah, if anybody out there wants to care, I mean, Herb Dean probably has more screen time than Russell Crowe, but you'll have to watch the review to find this out. I mean, we did a whole review.
You guys watched it, didn't you?
Well, that's what I was going to say. Not only did we watch it, we reviewed it opening night. So I mean, we are very familiar with this film now, and both of you are.
How was it? Yeah.
You can definitely see it. I'm not going to lie. I mean, it is a mixed martial arts movie. I mean, it's a movie made for people who watch mixed martial arts. It is definitely a movie that is co-produced by One Championship. It is a movie that is very centralized around Australians. I don't know what the catch is, why the One Championship Australia, what they're trying to merge here, what they're trying to bring. But Carlos Ulberg did just win the title, so I assumed that we're going to get a lot of representation coming forward. This was a great time for them to release the movie, and then Oberg won the championship. I think there was some stuff going on here, man. They were cooking. The movie's fun.
Is it better than the Halle Berry one?
Oh, better than Halle Berry for sure. But it you said it kind of reminds you of the Bloodsport, kickboxer kind of Van Damme stuff, and I mean, you're not too far off, I guess. I mean, it is an
Well,
interesting watch, but those are better, is what I would say.
Yeah, stars and bars better and more fun, is really how I would look at that. But what I said about it in the review is that like as MMA people, sure, see it. There are specific instances of the story that like are kind of interesting if you know like both sides of that world, if you know the front facing fighting side and then the back end as well. Like there are some things that are somewhat unique to the storyline with that. For the average casual observer and non-combat sports people, I said you could probably skip it or do what you guys are saying to do and catch it on demand. It's certainly not necessary to see it in theaters, I thought, for that crowd. But for combat sports people, yeah, you could spend $14 a worse way, I would say.
What I would say too, just to hammer one last point, because Stipe literally made me talk about this. He came on my screen and said, "You're going to talk about this fucking movie tonight," and I said, "You know what? Damn right I will." Because this movie, I mean, you are correct. It is about an old fighter who's a fisherman. That is definitely a thing that is true. But there's some decent turns and some weird stuff that goes on in the movie that like it is enjoyable. Like I would say you're watching it and like it keeps you engaged, like you don't really want to fall asleep. Like I can tell you plenty of movies I fell asleep and they were sci-fi and shit. Like I fucking this thing was mostly talking, but it was decent enough. Like if you were looking for action, scenes out the wazoo, not that. But if you're looking for a decently told, dramatic, cinematic experience, whatever you would like to call it, this is a fun one. If you're a moviegoer, of course, and you were held against your will, those are the two reasons why.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I mean, it's definitely not a movie that you're going to be like groaning and wanting to leave the theater or anything like that. And of course, now that Stipe has told us to go see it, then that adds to it to me. You guys are saying that it does make a difference to me. Like now, I got to go see it a second time.
Absolutely. Yeah. But, speaking of seeing things a second time, I'm going to tell you something that we should not see a second time, right? This is a crazy segue. This is a good one right here. Not a good one, the horrible one, actually. This is one of the portions of the story where we get into the tragedies of the sport, unfortunately. So, what I don't want to see again. Mark Hunt, you got to stop this, dude. Whatever you got going on, what was it, domestic violence, like we got to go cut it out, dude. Stalking, intimidation with intent to cause harm. I mean, with the text. I mean, first off, we all have our moments on text, but like you're literally texting, "I'm just going to murder you in the end, anyways." I mean, you gotta cover up your tracks a little better if you're. I mean, this is psychotic stuff though. But either way, DS, Bam Bam. Any comments here first? Bam Bam, go ahead.
Look, man, we obviously we don't know the full details, but love hurts, right? So who knows what the hell's going on? I'm gonna abstain from talking about what's going on in Mark Hunt's personal life because I don't know the details of it, but it doesn't look good.
Yeah,
Fair enough. DS, go ahead.
And hurt people, So clearly he's got a lot going on. That picture, he looks fucking scary. I will say he looks absolutely terrifying in that photo. Yeah, I don't know. When I think of Mark Hunt, I just think he got fucking screwed with the Brock Lesnar thing and how he sued for that. So, but yeah, that's fucked up, man. He's a big ass boy to be throwing all that around.
Well, and Thinker, I'll let you go, but I think the context, because I'm not an old, and I'm not the OG. I haven't been here to see Mark Hunt and Brock. I watched him, but I didn't watch him live. I wasn't paying no pay-per-view at that age. Whatever you want to say. But like Mark Hunt to me is just a retired, former great fighter or whatever you want to say. So when I think of this, I'm like,
great's probably a strong word.
Fair. Okay. Fair. Yeah. But when I look at this, all I can think about is like similar situations with like BJ Penn. It's like, is this something that we're going to start to see more of? And is this going to be like a downward spiral type of thing, or in the rare case, it's the one off? I mean, what are we thinking, Thinker? Go ahead.
Well, you're touching on a good point there. DSA, and he's not as great as a little bit strong. I would consider Hero Class him as a great to me personally because he is one of those early knockout artists that really like made me like glued to the screen kind of thing. He's got classic knockouts. So, it definitely holds a special place in my heart. And of course, the situation with Brock is something that is one of those touch points early on in my career of covering the sport that stood out as a, like a reason for me to want to get more into like that side of the sport, like what goes on besides, behind the cameras kind of thing. So maybe a little unique in that regard. But as far as what you talked about, Chase, with like possible CTE and things like that, Yeah, that's a lot of what the conversation has become around this, at least in the circles that I've been hearing conversation. And it's certainly frightening. Now, Mark Hunt specifically also has a very troubled past, a lot of trauma in his early life. So there could be some formative basis in that regard that may be informing some of this currently. You pair that together with head trauma and things like that, this becomes a much bigger and broader issue. This is a frightening situation for sure, and something that should be taken as seriously as it's being taken. I think that there are many facets to situations like this, so we probably need a little bit more information to be able to form a full opinion about it. But I hate to see it. I hate to see it because obviously, for the what's actually happening, that's a terrible thing and very scary for the victim in the case. But also because I hate to see it out of Mark Hunt. This is a person who I respect greatly for what he was able to accomplish in the sport and the name that he created for himself. A person who already went through adversity with the organization, was on the wrong end of that, and now coming up again in this capacity is very unfortunate. So what we saw out of BJ Penn should be a beacon to a lot of people. I would say is like, we need to have better post-career care for fighters. That's a big reason why the UFC lawsuits that were going on, like, the recouping of cash for the fighters in contract terms, like that was always secondary to me. I was always more big on the idea of a fighters union for exactly this kind of situation, so that there is something after the career to give ongoing support to these people, because you cut them out from the organization and they're just back out. It's like getting released from prison almost to an extent. They don't have an out to go to the next thing. They don't have a plan B or a retirement roadmap. So overall, like they're kind of on their own. And I think that there should be more care for them to avoid these exact situations.
No, I absolutely agree. And I'm not going to make you speak on it any further, but I do want to ask your opinion. Bam Bam, was Mark Hunt great? That's what I want to know here. And by your estimate, was he great, or was he just good enough that he's fine. What do you think?
Somewhere in between there, right? I think just good enough isn't doing him like justice. He is a knockouts artist. He was one of the scariest guys in the world at his time. I don't think there was ever a fight where Mark Hunt was, like going into it, you thought there's no chance he wins this. He always had a chance to win a fight. He supplied us with years of entertainment. I also second what Diaz said, and it's really shitty how he got treated by the company and that whole situation with Brock Lesnar. And then there was the whole, the court case. I'm not like the most up to date on all of that and how everything is playing out, but it's sad to see, right? And it's like Thinker was saying, it's kind of hard to not draw comparisons to the BJ Penn situation. It's unfortunate that that's where we are. I would love to see a fighters union. I just don't know what that would look like in any capacity.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate part. Is like, what can you do at this point? If they haven't done it yet, we just got to hope the GFL comes along and does it right. But I don't think that one's gonna happen, guys.
They're trying. They're back though, brother. Come on, you got to give them a second chance here. we're
Electric
in the formative
Boogaloo
stage.
Part 2 or
Exactly.
whatever.
Yep, indeed.
But either way, speaking of shit that ain't gonna happen, right? I don't know if Arman thought this one through. This is a story about Arman Sarukian, right? And I don't know if you guys have seen him in the headlines a few times now. There's a couple different ones, but we're gonna get into the funnier one first. So apparently, Ryan Garcia owed him $40,000 after a bet, which, whatever, money doesn't exist. Who cares if it's actually true? This is another video with subtitles, but we'll just break it down, because Ryan Garcia just, responds with it. We can set up a squabble between whoever on your team, no body shots things, just a fight. I'm not paying you shit. Let's fight. And if any one of you can win, I'll give you $100K. Classic. I will not pay you, but I'll pay you if we'll double down type of move. I love this one. So what are you guys thinking here? DS, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the video, right? Like that where all this is stemming from. So the bet, I believe, was Arman said that he will, like, I think he wanted Ryan to give his bodyguard like 3 body shots, bare skin, basically. And if he takes him, he owes him $40K. If he drops him, then it's the other way around. So I guess he must have ate the fucking body shots, and now he's not paying him. I think this is bullshit.
Yeah.
If you're gonna make a bet, and especially if it's on camera, you should probably just follow through with it. Not that Arman, of all, like, if it was any other UFC guy, you should really pay it. I get Arman's fucking loaded, so but so is Ryan Garcia. So I think it's bullshit. You know, if you're gonna make a bet, you should probably follow through with it. Especially if it's like you had it was you doing the thing, right? Like you were the one who was supposed to knock him down or not knock him down. So yeah, I think it's bullshit. You know, at the end of the day, though, it's two fucking rich ass guys. So
Yeah.
it is what it is, I guess.
For sure, I think that's my point too. Is you know, money doesn't even exist. They could say $40,000, and then you know that's just for that's just to give clicks. That's just for the views. You know, we didn't shake on it. We didn't write the dragon scroll out of it. So what are you thinking, Bam Bam? You thinking the same thing?
Yeah, I mean, there's not too much to add to it. I think this is just more Armin doing his new thing that he's been doing, right? Going out there, hanging out with all these social media guys and trying to become popular and campaign for a fight and whatever. He's doing a good job at it. I think it's starting to get to sort of a point where it's like a little annoying. I think the Giorgio Poyas thing was like the last straw for me. It's like, fuck that guy.
He's getting overexposed now.
Yeah, exactly. Like, let's move on. But yeah, I mean, if you're making a bet, pay it.
Yeah, Thinker, go ahead.
I mean, overexposed to show you exactly the amount of fucking spoiled brat idiot that this guy is. I hate Arman Sarukian, guys. I've said it many times on stream, but I have to reinforce this. This is Tweedledee and Tweedledum between the two of them. Garcia is another one who, you know, fine fighter and all of that, but not exactly a rocket scientist here. So you put two people who are, you know, not the greatest together, and dumb things happen. That's how I look at situations like this for sure. Armin goes out consistently, making himself look and acting like the most unlikable human being on the planet. For me personally, at least. I know other people feel differently, but this is how I feel about it. He is extremely unlikable. Garcia is not too far behind him. And again, I'm not surprised by a situation like this because that's what you get out of these kinds of people. So yeah, I agree. Yeah, pay your bets back. I mean, if you're making a bet, you know, stand on business. That's how being a man works. But like, I don't expect that from someone who has exhibited the types of behaviors that I've seen out of both of them.
No, absolutely. And you know, if you guys have anything else to add on the bet portion of this, that would be you should add it now because there's more to come for Armin here, and I think this one's a really good story here. DS, got anything? Bam Bam. All right, we'll go ahead. We'll lock in because Armin actually just got kicked off a plane. So this is a funny story. I don't know what the video actually shows, but he got kicked off the plane. He obviously had Thinker as a fucking attendant or something, and he just did not like him. He's like, nope, get him the fuck out. Nope.
Yeah, that's me in 24B right there with the hand on the shoulder.
And so the story is that he was just playing on his phone while they were trying to take off, and he got kicked off. So that's the story. People are presuming that there's more to it, but we'll see if there's anything in this video here.
I want to shake his hand.
Sure, there's no one with a Burger King crown on in there.
Yeah, right. The lady who saw the alien or whatever in the back.
Yo, why is Arman flying fucking in like economy, bro?
Yo, for real.
American Airlines, guys. I mean, what can you say? I mean, if this was promotion that he was doing for him, you know, I'm going to stream and I'm going to give him free promotion. I'm going to get kicked off the plane. Did it work, Thinker? Are you more of a fan now that you've seen him pull this stunt? Let me know.
Oh yeah, absolutely. My opinions have completely changed. You know, if I was another traveler on this plane, having to have my flight delayed by an hour and a half, 3 hours, whatever it ends up being, because this idiot won't put his fucking phone down, yeah, I'm gonna be a little upset about that. Again, it's more of the same. This like the narrative around Armin informs exactly the person that you get out of Armin. You know, everybody's saying, oh, Armin's a little bit of a dude who comes in with a little bit of money, he's a little spoiled kind of, you know, and that sort of thing. And like, you see all of exactly the type of person that would have all of those trappings around them every time that these kinds of things happen. So am I surprised by this? Of fucking course not. This dude, he walks to breathe this exact air right here.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say I'm not agreeing with a lot that you're saying. DS, Bam Bam, anything else to add with Mr. Sarukian getting kicked off the American Airlines plane, guys? What's going on?
No, I mean, again, like, I'm just curious, like, why he's in like economy, just chilling there, and then also like, just imagine like this fucking multimillionaire is the reason, like, he's being a big fucking baby, and that's the reason that now you're just a regular guy trying to get home to your family or whatever the situation is. Now you got to deal with this bullshit. Like, it's a little absurd, you know? And if that's really what it is, like, he didn't want to stop playing on his phone. Like, come on, bro.
Bro, he
Grown
was
man.
finishing that Angry Birds match, man. Jesus Christ, he was trying to knock down the towers before they took off. But either way, I want to actually give a big shout out to my boy Mank. He joined, and I know it's late for him, so I appreciate him for stopping by. But what I appreciate more is this next story. Bam Bam, actually, sorry, do you have anything else to add about Sarukian and the plane here?
No, man, just shout out American Airlines. Those Stroop waffles go fucking crazy.
Ooh, I do love those. I do fucking love those.
Chat can confirm I more recently had a Strupel waffle, and they do, I actually had the mini ones. Is that what they have on the planes? Is the mini
Yep.
ones? Oh god damn! Even the regular size. Anyway, guys, chat, check them out. German? I don't know. Either way, the next thing to talk about is the absolute state, and that's what this tweet says. I read it verbatim because it's actually true. I mean, what is happening with Marab's nose here? Can anybody
Yikes.
confirm?
Jesus.
Yeah, and he's apparently wrestling Cejudo at RAF this week. So, chat, what are we thinking? Bam Bam, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I got the Marab shirt on, so I guess it's only right. Yeah, he broke it. I mean, he made a video about it a week or two ago. He broke it in training. It's unfortunate. He went to the doctors, and they told him that he has two options. One is surgery, but then he can't fight for a year, or fucking deal with it. And he decided, I'm going to fucking deal with it. The assumption is Peter Yan at some point late in the summer. I'm thinking that Philly card sounds right for Marab and Peter Yan, especially that, Marab is wrestling in Philly this weekend. So looks like that's what we're heading towards. But yeah, he broke it. Another typical Marab, just doing fucking Marab things and not being able to get out of his own way.
I'm glad you put it that way. Thinker, you go ahead. Add your commentary real quick.
I covered Marab on the Yama show, and what I had to say about Marab is, as much as I am a fan, I think he's a fun guy, and actually makes his style of fighting fun to watch, which is a rare feat at times with the style that he has. But I have never classed Marab as a very bright guy, and I think that having something like this happen and then saying, okay, I'm just going to tank the damage, I'm going to work through it, and then also, now having a wrestling match at RAF and probably not taking as good care of the injury as he could, all of those kinds of things track exactly correctly to the type of person that Marab is. So I'm not very surprised by any of this, but I do hope that he at least has the good thought to make it to that fight with Piotr Yan, if that's what is going to happen, because we want to see that. We want to see Marab back in there. We need to see Piotr back in there, of course, as the man with the belt. So, these are the things that need to happen, and Marab is not doing himself or the fans any favors by making us question this at this point.
DS, what are you thinking? I mean, Marab with his broken nose, it obviously looks disgusting, but at this point, you can't really stop him from doing what he wants to do. He's just going to do it anyways. But are you thinking that this is going to hinder the rest of his career? I mean, it's already looking disgusting at this point. Imagine after 3 jabs from Peter Yan. I mean,
it's certainly possible. Like the cardio obviously is a huge weapon of his that, in general. So if he's not able to breathe properly out of his nose, I could definitely see it hindering him moving forward.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
All that being said,
yeah.
Sorry, just he's tough as hell. It's just a shame. Like, he was so pretty before. It's just a shame now that this has just ruined his face. And
yeah, well, yet apparently a notorious slayer of the P, though. I mean, This guy is apparently out here like slanging D all over the place. So pretty or not, he somehow makes it work.
They don't call him the machine for nothing, man.
Hey,
factual. Somebody said in the chat it looks bionic over here in his nose, and I mean, kind of deal. But Marab doing Marab things is perfect segue for what this next clip is, because it's more Marab stuff. I don't know if you guys don't like him, but we got a decent amount of Marab stuff going here. So this next clip here goes back to, you always seen Marab doing, when he had the belt, you were always like, why is he shadow boxing on the side of the roof? What is he doing right now? Why is he outside in the rain, doing stuff? He's always doing something. Here's another example of it. We'll watch a minute of him talking to a construction worker who recognizes him, I guess is how this works, but it's kind of interesting.
Oh. What's up, guys? How are you? Respect.
The picture.
Yeah? Okay.
He's coming down just to see.
Ah, mi amigo. Maybe I jump there, brother.
Yeah, when he finishes.
Oh, good Lord.
You come. Hello, let me...
You're just like a badass little kid.
My amigo.
He's crazy.
Yes, bro. No problem, bro.
No
Don't
way.
be nervous. I'm just a regular guy like you. 7 years ago, I was working construction too. I can take it if
He's
you want.
crazy.
Okay, don't worry, I'll be fine.
He's a fighter.
Don't be nervous. Don't be tough.
Marab.
Easy, bro. Easy.
He wants.
Okay, I mean, to be fair, the one thing I will note about this, pretty impressive. I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, when I saw him get up there, I said, this is one of these are the type of people that don't think about how they get down once they go up. And to be fair, very good climbing skills from Rob. He might actually be climbing some shit in his off time. But either way, what are we thinking here? DS, go ahead. This is a good clip. I got to see what you got to say.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, to me, Marab in general, and especially in this clip, just feels like a badass little toddler, dude. Like you look away for a second, he's fucking climbing up something, and there's nothing you can do about it at this point. Also, are we seeing a UFC champion? Maybe this fan, Marab was in construction 7 years ago. Maybe this window washer is going to be the next champion. Probably not at 135. I'll tell you that. No disrespect, but heavyweight division is kind of in a bad spot right now. Maybe that's the guy to come in and really shake things up here. So
true, absolutely true. Yeah, I couldn't size him up too well while he was sitting, but if he can make 170, man, it's a good division right now. Good for him. But yeah, Bam Bam, what do you think of Marab climbing around once again?
Man, that's Marab, man. And you questioned, I don't know if you guys like him. Again, I got the T-shirt on. I would venture to say that Marab, it's Yuri and Marab. Those are my two favorite fighters on the planet, believe it or not. So I love Marab, always have. This is who the fuck he is, man. He's a wild man. He is a free spirit. He's going to do what he feels like. He's a good dude. He's entertaining. He's fun. This is him. This is Marab. I fucking love it. Let's get the title back.
Hell yeah. Thinker, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I mean, if you recall, there's that great clip of Marab when some fan disrespected him where he literally did this exact same thing, climbed up through, that scaffolding or whatever, to get up to the upper levels and confront that guy. So, Marab has been training his entire life for this exact moment right here. So not surprised by it. Yeah, again, these are the things that make you love Marab, just he seems like a fun guy. He's a cool dude. Like I said, I don't necessarily think that he is a Rhodes Scholar or anything like that, but you don't have to necessarily be that. So, yeah, I thought it was cool. I mean, and I like that he stuck the landing when he came back down, got a great photo op with the fan. Yeah, no problems here. I got no problems with any of this. Just don't hurt yourself. That's the only, you got a fucking broken nose over here and you're doing this kind of stuff. Don't hurt yourself more.
Yeah, he's not the champ right now, so who cares? If he's a champ, I had a problem with it. But as of right now, go do your crazy shit. I think the funniest part is when he was climbing down, somebody must have said, like, be careful, or like, yo, what are you doing? Because the girl, I assume it's her, she goes, he's a fighter. It's like, what does that have to do with him climbing around? Like,
everything's fine now. Oh, okay. Oh, he's a fighter. All right. Geez, I'll pull back,
Carry on climbing the fucking scaffolding. Good deal. Yeah, no, that one was really funny. But this one is also a really funny one. This is not necessarily the crazy side of Marab, but this is more or less, I mean, this is just a very ethical way to go about your business. Marab apparently got his tattoo because they told him he couldn't wear his flag. Right? He couldn't wear the flag. He started wearing the necklace. They said no more necklaces. He said, fine, I will tattoo the flag right on my chest, so you have to let me wear it. And I think the funny part of this quote at the end of, I don't need a tattoo for my wife. You never know. I might change wives. That's a great one right there. But the UFC flag, or the Georgia flag, to be able to rep that in the UFC, very important. But the thing about it is there's a lot of different stories and things going around about the shorts and what shorts colors you can wear depending on the countries that you are, why we're not seeing as many flags being, represented. We actually just saw, not to get too political about it, but we did just see somebody who represented Palestine wear their flag out there and have it. Like, we're seeing a lot of different wishy-washy type of things when it comes to this. Why does Patty get orange, but they're telling everybody else you have to wear red, white, or fucking black kind of deal? It's just whatever the case may be, So Bam Bam, go ahead. Any comment there about the flags or the shorts or anything?
Yeah, I mean, being a Marab fan, I knew this when it happened, right? He said he was going to do it. He did it. So it's been a while. He did it when the UFC was doing that flag ban, right? When that was kind of like the big thing, because obviously his country means a lot to him. He got it tatted on his heart. His custom shorts, which I also have a pair of, are the Georgian flag. And they're, for me, amongst the best custom shorts there are. Going to the shorts situation, a couple things with that. Yeah, to me, it's super weird that they're kind of at the beginning they wanted to be uniform, and that was great. Now that they kind of opened the door and opened the floodgates with these champion shorts and these stars are getting shorts, like why not Yuri? Why still have we not had Yuri Prohashka shorts? To me, he is like the ultimate guy that deserves them that doesn't have them yet. Every other champion within the last few years that deserves them has gotten them. Khalil Roundtree fucking got shorts.
That is my thing about it. Khalil Roundtree has a pair of custom shorts. There's a lot of people who get to wear purple now, and it doesn't seem to be that it's the people that we want to have custom shorts and or that we wouldn't care to have custom shorts. It always seems that the person who comes out with the purple shorts is somebody who's like random and irrelevant. It's like you try to stand out, I guess. I don't know. Michael Morales wore purple, but
I'll give you one more really quickly. Sorry to cut you off. A weird situation with the shorts. Shout out Charles Johnson, Energy, another friend of the channel. Charles Johnson has completed the rainbow. He has worn every color of shorts that the UFC has to offer. To my knowledge, he's the only one that's done that. Also, like I don't think they allow most fighters to not wear like their nation's shorts. I don't fucking get it. It makes no sense.
Right. Diaz, we're actually going to let you go. So you're on deck for a second. But no, I remember them. It was Dan Ige, I believe, and or I think it was also maybe Nathaniel Wood. Like they were both told that they could wear white, red, or black. And those are the options that they get for the country. Those are the relative colors on their flags or whatever you want to say. Black, not really, but that's just the base color, I guess. But all these other ones, like it seems weird that some random regions, and it's not really region based, it's fighter based. Even Bryce Mitchell, does he still wear his camo shorts? Who even fucking knows? But I don't know. It is just a weird convoluted system of who gets shorts and why they get them, and where do these specialty color ones come from? The purple, of course, and then Patty has the orange. I know that's different. With it's kind of a custom pair. We have pink with Sean O'Malley. We saw the Pink Panther wear his pink. So Diaz, what would you say here?
Yeah, I mean, I don't appreciate the inconsistency with the shorts, honestly. And I mean, overall, I think it's bullshit that they have to wear the shorts that the UFC says that they have to wear, right?
True.
I think I appreciated it more when it was another way for fighters to get a little bit more money in their pocket, right? When they were able to get their own sponsors and, it allowed for a little bit more, it wasn't all so uniform, right? You could see some different things out there. So, yeah, I mean, they were just very inconsistent all around, right? So it's like, who can wear what colors? Some people can wear different colors, but then some people get special shorts and then others don't. Like the Yuri point I thought that Bam Bam made was great, right? Like way lesser fighters have gotten it. So yeah, I don't know, man. I think it's weird. I appreciate what Marab did, with the Georgian flag. That makes a lot of sense to me. Why not? He's obviously big on his country. I respect that. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, man, just let the fighters do their own thing. Like you're not going to let them unionize. They already don't get a large percentage of just the profit of the company, right? Like when you look at other sports and the profit sharing, the UFC is like way, way less. So if you're already going to do stuff like that, why then take away their ability to make some money on the side by doing the shorts things and limiting them? But it is what it is, I guess.
They're also dropping custom shorts for Tracy Cortez, a clear pair.
Oh, nice. Yes. Yeah, the Invisipair, I love it. No, I was actually saying my custom shorts that I think we're totally going to get next, and I'll let you 10-7, I'll let you guys stew on this one while I let Thinker talk about his shorts commentary. But Joshua Van, we will definitely be getting a custom pair for him. I put my life down on it. There's no way they're going to miss this opportunity. But go ahead, Thinker. What are you thinking?
I mean, it's just another mechanism of control for the organization is how I look at it. The same with the lack of sponsorship, the same with the flags are a little bit different. I would say, I think that that's more top down because I think that was like a broader political aspect when they were doing the flag ban and stuff like that. But when it comes to these custom shorts elements, I've never been too concerned about it one way or another. It's not really something that I care too much about, but I do recognize that like everything else, it's not political in the broader sense, but internally political is what I would say it is when it comes to the organization. It's just another thing of I like this guy. He's doing this for the company. So this guy gets this treatment. And I, like DS, I crave more consistency for the sake of the fighters. Like regardless of the level that you are fighting at, you are a valuable member of the organization because you are there, period. Like you are necessary. The roster is necessary. The roster is the product. So I wish that there was a little bit more of a better treatment in that regard, but it you get what you get out of the UFC. Like, this is how they operate, how they treat their talent, and this is just another arm of that, another wing of it.
You know what I actually have always wondered, and it obviously was answered because of the flag. The topic of the flags is exactly why we don't have this, of course. But I've always, if we're gonna have colors dedicated to certain regions and whatever they're supposed to be wearing, why is there not just a base pair of shorts that have the country on, like the flag on them itself? Like, why isn't that just like the basic necessity? If you want to have the American flag shorts, if you're an American, go for it. Like, obviously the flag thing, they don't want to have that, but if you're going to have shorts segregated for those specific regions, like, you're just pushing the boundary but not actually going over it. So what are you guys thinking there, Bam Bam? Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, there's a weird little line there with flags, right? I mean, a lot of countries and a lot of cultures are going to see it as offensive if you wear a flag as clothing. So that's one thing to consider there. But yeah, I mean, I get where you're coming from. It doesn't necessarily have to be a Russian flag as your shorts. It could just be, regular shorts with a little Russian flag on them, or a little
Right.
design that indicates you're Russian. I'm cool with that, but this is really just a tool, like Thinker was saying, for the UFC to kind of just have control, man. Like, everything's supposed to look uniform now that they're getting fucking $8 billion. And back when they signed Reebok, we knew what the deal was. This is what it is. They want uniformity. They want to control all the profits. They want all the sponsorship money coming to them, and that way they can hold the fighters down.
I think the last thing that I'll bring up, and Diaz, I hope you have some good commentary on this. I mean, is there a crowd of people, and maybe I'm even myself or even bringing it up, is there a crowd of people who would say, who gives a shit about the shorts? Please just show up and fight and be entertaining and actually do your job. Because if you're sitting here worried about the shorts too much, you need to maybe train a little harder, brother. You need to have other things on your mind, supporting your family, coming to the fight healthy. What are you thinking about? What the fuck is on your shorts? You're looking at your opponent in the cage, like what's the deal here?
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely think there's a sect of people who feel that way. I mean, without a doubt. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of feel that way, right? Like, who at the end of the day, who really gives a shit? So, but yeah, I go back to the same thing where it's like, why take that away from the fighters and then why box them in further? But not everybody though. So it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But at the end of the day, yeah, who gives a shit?
True. No, I actually agree. The boxing in part, that's just where, like, you want the fighters to be expressive to a point. The crowd, the casual audience, they glaze people like Hoka as soon as they show some sort of sign of personality. But then you're stripped the fighters the ability to have that personality in their uniform, I guess is what you can say, of course. But it definitely is just always wishy-washy with them. Thinker, do you have anything else to add here?
No, I mean, the only thing that I was going to add is just that, you brought up Bryce Mitchell and his campaign for the camo, and he got the camo, and then, look at his record now, I mean, he's not doing so hot. So yeah, I would agree. Like, maybe there are bigger priorities, and it's certainly not an issue that I, as a fan, care anything about. So, maybe it's just fluff for the sake of fluff. But again, as we've said, another mechanism of control. And it's a little bit wild to me that the UFC needs that level of control, considering how much control they already have.
True. They are acting as big brother across the board here. But speaking of things that need to change, or rules that are instilled in the UFC that they're gonna not go back on, whatever you want to say. I think this clip that came up, the first portion of it, I disagree with, because we actually had a whole discussion about it, and I'm sure if you guys talked about the fights a few weeks ago, you discussed it as well. There was an incident between Dione Barbosa, right, and then Melissa Gatto. Is that who it was? Where we had a soccer kick that was illegal-ish, whatever you want to say. That's a topic for another day. But the point is this right here is a good video, but the end of it is the most important part. So the first part, great. End of it, I can't wait for you guys to give some commentary on. So we'll listen to Joaquin Buckley talk to Mike Perry about rules that need to change.
Think they should bring those back?
We been saying that, dude. Japan, the only place that ever had that shit, I would fight like that.
I think, because first off, anybody that's trying to be a crotch sniffer, I should have the ability, right, to just football punch your head, you know what I'm saying, to the bleachers. One thing I feel like, that if they not going to do it like that, one rule that they could make legal, let's say you in a heel hook, right? Somebody got your legs tied up. I should be able to kick you. If we both grounded, I should be able to kick you in your right, to let me go. Why do I have to do the jiu-jitsu stuff and try to fight the hands and boom, boom? No. Think they should
So I think obviously the soccer kick thing, we had a whole discussion about that. You can feel one way about that one, but I think the ending portion, talking about in a heel hook 50-50 situation, it's actually a rule that I never really you overlook it a lot, like because you just never see them even attempt it because it's just such a sacred position in the sport. Like you should just not be able to just kick your opponent right there. But in a way, I actually do agree. This is a pretty good rule. Like, why should you have to sit there and tangle up with them? Like, just kick them and stand up. So I think this is a really good one. Thinker, I'll let you go first because I know you're the man when it comes to the rules and stuff here. What would you like to say?
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is a broader issue in general when it comes to the lack of swiftness in addressing rule changes based on what we are actually seeing in competition. I mean, start with me because you know how passionate I am about this subject. When it comes to the oversight of the sport, something I pay close attention to, and we've had a little bit of movement in that at times. Of course, 12-6s are legal now, and all of that. The down opponent rule changes, like those elements, it's like an iceberg moving when it comes to like rule changes. It feels like those could have been in place a lot quicker, and the ABC top level of the oversight of the sport moves very, very slowly on what I would class as necessary rule changes that could improve the overall quality of fighting in general. And that doesn't seem like it's going anywhere anytime soon, and that's unfortunate to me because there are a lot of conversations like the one we're having here with this. There are so many of these types of things that could be discussed on a more regular basis and have the votes to get things changed, but they just don't take those actions. And I don't know if it's Andy Foster or whatever the makeup of that organization is that makes it that way, but that is bothersome to me because there are a lot of things like the Gatto situation that you brought up that happen on a regular basis and have no real legitimate, like, defined mechanism for handling. It just seems like there's a bit of a make 'em up element a lot of times in the sport. So when it comes to this specific rule, I'd have to see the actual in practice versions of how it would look, this and that. I will say that as a person who watches one championship and is familiar with the global rule set, a little bit of a different, a couple different circumstances there. I do like that rule set better. So I think that the more open you can make it without making it completely no holds barred, that would be what I am in favor of. But really, the broader issue to me is just the lack of what seems like interest from the top down oversight of the sport to actually make meaningful changes and add consistency to those enforcements. Those are
No,
my problems.
No, absolutely. And so yeah, there's just too many things that we could adjust and fix, but one step at a time, of course, obviously with the 12-6, we could see things, we'll talk about something here in a few minutes, of course. So we could start to see some more changes roll out, as you saw with last week with the eye pokes, they're starting at least for that incident alone on that event, they cut down on them. They took points when they needed to be, except Paulo Costa, even though he smiled and laughed about it, whatever you want to say. I think the main thing, though, I want to know is DS. We'll go first. We'll say what would you like to say about the soccer kicks first? Is this something that you would like to see in the UFC specifically? Do you think what Dione Barbosa did was legal to an extent? If it was a little timely, what would you like to say in this matter, or even with the kicks to the in the 50-50 position? Is there anything you'd like to add there?
Yeah, well, just for what Joaquin Buckley said, that I for sure think should be legal. I mean, to me, I feel like the rules are like when it's like transitioning to the ground or on the ground, it very much favors the wrestler, right? So, yeah, why shouldn't you be able to use all your tools, all your limbs, especially if you're in the same position? So, yeah, to me, that is like a clear cut, very easy. Yes, that should change. As far as the soccer kicks, I mean, I could go either way on those, to be honest with you. Because it is fucked up, right? Like it is, we were talking about CTE, like that's a whole different ball game, right? That's a brutal finishing kick. I mean, you can get killed that way, right? So I can go either way on those. I will say though, like the grounded opponent, where it's like, what is a grounded opponent, right? Where you have three limbs down, or whatever that. I think that's a little bullshit too, right? I think, yeah, again, favors the wrestlers, favors the grapplers. I think that it should be more 50-50, right? It should be more a little bit, it should skew a little bit more towards the strikers in that regard. I also just want to say, like, this is a problem when you don't have an off season, right? Like you look at the NFL, for example, there's always some small rule changes made, right? Like every year or every other year, there's some rule changes made because they have an off season, they meet as a committee, blah, 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 right? I mean, there's really no off season here, right? So it's hard to know like when things are going to be implemented. Like, sure, towards the end of the year, there's always like, you know, for Christmas and New Year's, it's kind of slow or there's nothing going on. But I guess it makes sense to me why things move slowly in that regard too. Also, I feel like the UFC is like very much like an oligarchy, right? Where it's like you have pretty much just Dana White and his cronies, and that's it, right? So I think it's going to be hard to get changes like that passed. And like you said, man, like quickly, I just don't see it happening. But yes, like the 50-50 position, absolutely. I think that is like a very clear cut. Why not? Like,
Yeah.
what is the reason that they cannot do that?
True. And I'm actually glad you talked about the soccer kicks, dude. Those are deadly. Like those could be very, very dangerous. I 100% agree that those should not be allowed. As of right now, until something changes my mind, of course. But what Barbosa did, that was sketch in my opinion. But I would like to hear your opinion, Bam Bam. What are you thinking about the soccer kicks, of course? And then the 50-50 kicks, dude. I mean, I could understand like an axe kick if you're able to be that limber to be on your back and do like some sort of the momentum to impact your opponent. I just don't see you being able to kick them in the face necessarily. Even if you did like a push kick type of deal, it's still a very far ways away. I mean, of course, it depends on if how the person's body is built, if they have more legs, less torso. I don't know how the science would work, but I still just am trying to wrap my head around why that is something that was never been, or if it has, something that has not been implemented yet. So go ahead, Bam Bam.
Yeah, I mean, in my mind, here's the way I look at it, right? If you and your opponent are standing on the feet, every tool is available to you. If your opponent is grounded and you're not, you're now losing half of your tools. So yeah, I mean, I agree with DS. Like the advantage is all for the grappler. I'll tell you, it goes back to the 12-6 thing that you mentioned, right? We've seen that famous video of Joe Rogan kind of explaining with I believe it was Big John, right?
Yeah,
No,
Big
you're right.
Big John, why the 12-6 rule became a thing at the beginning, and it was because it was seen as like too violent. They had seen the old karate movies and breaking bricks and all that kind of shit. And we've later come to find out that that's really not how it works. You can generate the same amount of force sideways or this way or whatever. But
Bro, a spinning elbow is way more devastating than a 12-6 elbow.
right,
Correct.
exactly. So there's some weirdness in it there, but what I think it all boils down to is this is a new sport, right? I mean, we forget that it is only 30 years old in America, I guess, right? There, fighting's been around forever. But the one thing you need to consider when it was brought to America, they had to try to de-violence it, right? To make it legal, to get it sanctioned everywhere. So part of that is the soccer kicks, because as much as there may be worse strikes, that shit looks the most brutal.
Yeah.
I mean, like Thinker said, right?
I don't know that there are worse strikes, man. Like, I genuinely don't know that there are worse
not
strikes.
DS, but I will say this. When it comes to the 50-50 positions if you're both grounded, the same fucking rules should apply as if you're both on the feet. All my tools should be available. If you're grabbing at my feet, I can't kick you off me. Like
Yeah.
we've all almost been knocked the fuck out as kids by our younger cousin or little brother or sister when they're doing that up kick shit while we're, picking on them. So why it's effective. Why not?
Yeah, true. Yeah, Thinker, anything else you want to add here?
I think that both you guys absolutely cooked on this subject, by the way. I do want to address what DS said about the offseason. I thought that was such a good point.
True.
But what I would like to add to that is that right there is, to me, one of the biggest reasons why swifter change is more important. Because, we don't have that downtime for them to sit around and say, okay, let's all come together and have this very long, drawn-out discussion at length over the course of several weeks to, come to some kind of conclusion. There needs to be an ongoing conversation that leads to change more quickly in that regard. Chase, yeah.
Yes, I think that's and that's where it gets hard because you're wanting change to get done quicker. But they have to make small tweaks, and like, with the eye pokes, it's like, let's see what we can do here and there. We got to get a small sample size. We got to continue on building upon, the tweaking of it without actually changing it yet. Because then when we find out that all the tweaks don't work, then we have to roll out an actual rule set change.
Right.
So
Well, and you're exactly right. This doesn't necessarily need to be like we are going to go in and re-chisel the tablets. This is like there are adjustments that can be made, but that starts with actual action of some type. And I'm not necessarily the exact person to say this is how it should all work out, but there needs to be an understanding that some change is necessary in some capacity and start that process off. And to address the other point that I thought was very good, Diaz saying that the UFC is an oligarchy, that is something very bothersome to me when it comes to the overall oversight of the sport, because yes, the intertwining and the coziness, so to speak, of the organization as the big player in the space, being influential in that regard, that trickles down to everything that goes to the regionals, that goes to every other promotion in the country and any other region of the world that follows the unified rules to an extent. So like there should be a more divorced nature there. But I mean, I don't know if that necessarily is going to happen. And I also don't know how much that applies to what the conversation is about the swiftness and all of that. Either way, though, I do think that it is very necessary that there is a better evaluation and probably a distancing between them, because if you have the big player in the space having any kind of voice in that conversation, that there's going to be bias towards what they want, and that's not good.
I think what is also a really hard portion of it, so when it comes to these rules, I don't know. I completely lost my train of thought there. I was going to try to ramble it through, but the next point that we have here is actually it's still on the rule set change, and this is to the point that we're making. They need to make changes, and they need to have a reasonable amount of rolling. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. So the point is, when you have somebody like a Herb Dean who makes a video, he's like, we're going to come out, we're going to start cracking down on eye pokes. We're going to start taking a point. When you have an official who's coming out and being vocal about it, and if that's going to be the minor tweaks, like, all right, we're going to start tweaking after he makes this announcement, like, hey, we're cracking down on it. Then everybody starts to not eye poke for the next 4 weeks just so they can bypass and skate by. It's not necessarily it's them doing it on purpose, but they're not gonna break the rules as easy if you make it known, like, hey, we're going to start cracking down on it. And then for the next couple of weeks or so, they're going to be like, look, we did exactly what we needed to do. All we had to do was make a memo, and now people stop cheating. And then 5 weeks go on, and then they start cheating again. And now we have to write another memo and new tweaks and stuff like that.
That's consistency. That's what we're talking about. If you're don't talk about it, be about it and stay about it. Like that's really what it comes down to. And that's why the process has to be initiated so that becomes more of the norm going forward.
Oh, absolutely. Diaz, Bam Bam, is there anything else that you guys want to add to this one? Because there's another rule changing esque topic coming. So if you have more, trust me, there's some more coming. So if you want to go. Let's go. No? Good deal. All right. So this next story here, again, goes along the same lines of this rule changes. This one is very interesting because we just had a whole topic of what they need to change when it comes to the actual in-ring combat, when it comes to the rules and what's defined as breaking such rule. This one is a change, but it has nothing to do with the actual combat sports inside, So regulatory update. The ABC is considering 2 tweaks in the unified rules for possible vote this summer. One pertains to intentional versus accidental fouls, allowing for more open referee discretion as for the post-foul roadmap. Now, this is the second part is where it gets interesting. The other is cleaning up the language regarding vomiting, likely triggered by the Cody Garbrandt situation. And I think this one is interesting because if you guys remember watching the broadcast at the time, they completely didn't even show him vomiting. And I'm confused on why we're in a sport where people will have open gashes on their foreheads, eyes, noses, bleeding all over the place. We just saw blood out the wazoo on the last weekend. But the thing that they're most worried about is the language when it comes to vomiting. And I think that's just very interesting when it comes to this. So Bam Bam, you go ahead first. What would you like to say here?
Yeah, to me, that's more of like really a non-factor. Like, who gives a shit? You're watching the sport, like you said, where we're expecting blood to be gushing. But I guess there is something in that some people are disgusted by certain things, right? Gag reflexes and all that kind of shit. Like, I get it, man. I don't want to see someone puking if I don't have to. But I'm also like pretty jaded, man. I can watch damn near anything. Growing up on those fucking gore sites and shit. Like,
yeah, just watching like cartel beheadings and shit. Like,
right. And what I find interesting about this one too is like in my time here, watching all the events live, I can only tell you of one time that I've seen them have somebody vomit in the cage kind of deal, or come close to at least bring the bucket in kind of deal. And for them to immediately like, all right, we need 2 tweaks. We can't have bro vomiting in here ever again. I'm like, all right, it must be pretty serious. So, Thinker, what would you have to say there?
I mean, based on the way that this is worded, I don't know. I think what they're saying is that they want to clean up the language inside of the rule set. So maybe just defining what the procedure is to handle vomiting is what that seems like to me, that's fine. Honestly, the vomiting stuff, whatever, I don't even care about that. The thing that actually like made me groan was the thing before that, where it says pertaining to intentional versus accidental fouls and allowing for more discretion to the referee, more referee discretion, more ambiguity. This is what we are trying to eliminate, and they want more of it. That is like, oh my God, this makes me go insane here. Like, we're literally talking about consistency and uniformity when it comes to the oversight of the sport, and they want there to be more where random, whoever it may be. Now, we're talking about a lot of the major referees that who probably are going to handle things as professionally as possible, but you go out to fucking Wyoming and random Joe Schmo referee is now in charge of how to figure out that, what is intentional, unintentional, how they want to handle it. This is what irks me right here. Like, there needs to be more definition as opposed to ambiguity, and they're opening the door for more ambiguity with that.
What I find interesting here, and DS, you're on deck here for this. I think what's interesting about this one, of course, is that we saw Kevin Holland. When it comes to the accidental and intentional fouls, allowing for more referee discretion. Of course, Kevin Holland got kneed in the nuts like 4 times versus Mike Malott. The referee was basically had the doctor, and Kevin Holland was clearly not really wanting to participate in the little scrum meeting that they're having. Like, hey, are you ready to go? Are you going to compete? The doctor is just like, and then the referee just basically shoves him back in there, knowing that Mike Malott was completely disregarding the rule set at that point. If it wasn't necessarily, if it was, like the below the belt, or if it was on the belt line. I mean, the fact is the fight came to a halt because of the shots that landed, and the referee is just kind of fucking around. It might have even been Herb Dean, who's just like, come on, Kevin, are you gonna go, or are you gonna fight? It's like, what are we gonna see more of if we've not already seen the most referee discretion? So DS, what would you like to say about the refereeing that we have right now?
Yeah, I mean, I very much agree with both of you. Yeah, I think we should not give more discretion to the referees. Yeah, I mean, because there's no like set protocol, right? Like, we've seen different referees. We've seen the same referees handle situations very differently in different times. So I don't like that at all. And I mean, we've seen it very much affect fights too, right? So we don't need any more of that. That's for sure. As far as the vomiting thing, I don't really have an opinion on it. Honestly, I think, yeah, like you said, I think it's pretty much just language, like what it says, like they're just changing the language, like what the protocol is. I think that's just kind of diplomatic bullshit, to be honest. But yeah, the refereeing thing, I mean, I agree with both of you guys. I think the less that, or if you're gonna do that, then I feel like you need to like retrain the refs and like set clear protocols and like clear routes of action for specific situations with the referees. And I don't think they're gonna do that. So
yeah, absolutely. Bam, do you have anything else to add here?
Yeah, I'll just say this. I grew up a diehard of every sport, and I know DS has as well. I don't know exactly what you two grew up kind of watching, but I think Thinker told me he actually played minor league baseball. So you're gonna kind of get where, or am I completely off?
I played hockey for a little while, but yeah, you
Okay.
might be thinking of somebody else.
My apologies. Regardless of the fact, I grew up watching everything, man. Basketball, baseball, hockey, football, pro wrestling. Like, I grew up in that entire world. And to me, when it came to sports, the one that was always seen as the most behind was baseball, right? They're very antiquated. Like, they never wanted to change their rules. The umpires, who we can compare to the referees in this, were kind of God in baseball, right? They were given every right. Whatever they said was the end all be all. Now we're even seeing the Major League Baseball make those changes. We've seen the ABS come into play. So it's about getting with the times, man. MMA is in such a weird place because how do you, the stopping of fights and kind of calling timeouts and things like that. Like, there's no way to really automate that. But I do think we need stronger rules. We need stricter rules as to what is a stoppage, what is a foul, when do we take a point, all that kind of shit. We do need a committee to sit down and talk about that. It's unfortunate because I just don't think it's going to happen because all these places govern themselves. It's really unfortunate.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Go ahead, Thinker.
Oh, I was going to say that's why the ABC's involvement is so important because they're supposed to be the ones that are handing down the roadmap for the individual commissions. And, if they're not actually like guiding that path well enough, then this is what you end up with, a big hodgepodge based on state by state, territory by territory, et cetera. Just to touch also on the, you brought up the other sports and stuff. Shout out to Hydra, one of our regular chatters. He makes a good point about intentionality. This is the only sport where intentionality matters in fouling. If again coming from hockey, you hook somebody in hockey, it doesn't matter if you meant to do it or not, you're getting in the penalty box. Like, so intentionality kind of throws a little bit of a wrench in the governance of the sport in general. Now, whether you want that to be that way or, that intentionality matters to you, that's a broader conversation perhaps. But then the other point that you pair that with is how do you define intentionality? Like, if you see someone, if they're in a clinch situation on the cage and someone gets kneed in the nuts and, you're seeing the back of their head from the referee's perspective, how do you decide whether or not that was meant to happen or not? Even if you see it from the side, from the fan perspective on the camera, are you in that person's head? There's certainly different ways to mask and, to portray yourself, having intention or non-intention there. So it's just very nebulous. And this lack of defined language lends itself to everything being mud, everything being murky. So, if you already have ambiguity within what is and is not intentional or otherwise, that is another reason why having more defined language makes a big difference and is a big help here.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, hey, you guys are cooking here. I appreciate the dialogue. I'm learning a lot from you guys. I come in here and I don't know much. All I know is they didn't want to show vomiting on the TV, and I didn't even care. Maybe I wanted to see it. I don't know. I mean, I was in an uproar when they did not show the vomiting on the TV because it's like, one, what is the problem, dude? I mean, I'm not sitting here saying I'm a fan of it, but like Cody Garbrandt, this was a moment where we had to see the fighter at his lowest, and then he wanted to have this big comeback, put his mean face on, and then somehow win the fight, even though he still lost. But either way, the point is, fun performance, and the rule change itself. It's unfortunate that we get tweaks, and it's again things that are just things that don't matter. We could care less about this stuff.
And we also all know that you're a just bleed guy, Chase. So
just vomit, dude. Like, come on.
Exactly.
But okay, either way, this next story, this is another little break in the action, but this is the time where I want to go ahead and let the chat know if there's anybody out there still listening, if anybody is chilling with us, if you have any other stories that you need us to touch on, go ahead, drop the link in the chat, and we will make sure to get to them before we're done, because there's only a handful left. There's a few, but just not as many as there was at the beginning. That's what happens when we come to the end. So here we go. We're gonna get into this next heartwarming situation.
Oh, yeah.
Charles Oliveira competed and won. The daughter of Charles Oliveira, competed and won her first jiu-jitsu match this weekend. So shout out to her. There's a little video we can watch. I don't know if it's necessarily doing too much. Maybe it's just her celebrating. But the point is, she's following in the footsteps, and she is going to be a champ soon. What are we saying? Yeah, go ahead, Thinker. Yeah.
I mean, just, it's wonderful. I think that this must be extremely gratifying for Charles. I mean, to see his daughter excelling in something that he has poured his entire life and being into. I don't think that it gets much better as a father. I'm myself not a father, but I could imagine that someone who is, that must be one of the greatest feelings in the world. So yeah, congratulations to Charles and his young daughter there.
Absolutely. Bam Bam, would you like to say anything? Just a quick shout out to Charles Oliveira, of course.
Yeah. Beautiful. God bless. It makes me think that maybe him and Yuri's daughter are going at it one day for the strap. I also need to, if we're not going to get Connor and Michael Chandler, we need Hap Chandler and Connor Jr.
There we go. I love it. DS, what are you saying here, man?
Yeah, it's adorable. Good for her. Yeah, what is there to say, really? I think it's super cute. Look at them.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Wasn't the conversation for a little while there, Bella Mir and Brock Lesnar's daughter, potentially? Yep. So, I mean, we talk about it obviously with the way that life works and aging and everything. It's like right now it's, kind of just a story on the free for all, but like as these athletes grow into their own, and you're exactly right. I mean, Bam Bam saying that we could be seeing these competitors as legitimate competitors in the sport later on. That certainly tracks. So we'll just have to see how these careers progress if they actually want to do that. That I guess would be the only one other like minor note that I would have, is that I just hope that these young people are not necessarily feeling like they're forced into this as like the family business kind of thing. I would always be of the mindset that, like, if she wants to go be a doctor, then go be a doctor. It shouldn't have to be that she's competing in this just because dad does it. But I mean, most of the time, I think that this is a choice on the behalf of the young people, and if it is, then future stars of the sport in the making right before our very eyes.
I think it's also a little different in that regard because culturally, when it comes to different regions, I mean, this is what they grow up doing. This isn't necessarily following in dad's footsteps. This is what they grow up doing. This is just following in the country's footsteps kind of deal. It's the same thing when you look at Muay Thai over in Thailand or whatever. I mean, they just grow up doing it. It's not necessarily they're forced into it. Well, I mean, maybe they're nudged by conformity, I would say, but like that's just part of the culture.
But you bring up Thailand, and just to briefly touch on it too. We just had her name is escaping me, but the female fighter in one championship who just retired at like 23 years old or whatever. You know what I'm talking about?
Supergirl.
Supergirl there. Thank you. Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, she was kind of saying that, like, it was never really her path to be a competitor. And I feel for people like that, whether it's the cultural aspect or, the family aspect, whatever it is, if your heart's not in it and you're doing it, out of some other obligation that you feel based on something that's outside of your control, that I think is slightly unfortunate. But aside from that, if that's not the situation, I'm not saying that that's the situation here, but just if that is a situation that any of them are encountering, I hope that is something that they can break out of and do what they truly desire in life. You only get one life, so do what you actually want to do. But barring that, this is all great.
No, hell yeah. And speaking of Charles Oliveira, shout out Brazil. We obviously have big things to talk about coming forward when it comes to Brazil with this next story because Ian Gary, if anybody is not aware yet, he does train down in Brazil. That is the main team. He does train with Charles Oliveira. So this plan that he has, if anybody has heard, it's very gold. It's very rich. He has a plan. He and Carlos Prates are going to headline Brazil. Ready? His plan. Carlos Prates beats Madalena. And then the second part of this is Ian Gary beats Islam Makhachev. Oh, gosh. So who's thinking that this is possible in the slightest? Diaz, go ahead. You got to go first.
I mean, it's possible. I don't think it's very likely, right?
Yeah.
I don't see Ian Gary winning against Makhachev, to say the least. Madalena, sure. I think that's a competitive fight right there. I think that the Ian Gary portion of this is what makes it pretty unlikely here. But cute story, cute plan. I think it's real nice that they've got a plan. I think that's adorable. It's not happening.
Yeah, no, I agree. Jesus Christ. Bam Bam, go ahead.
It's commendable as hell, man. Like, if they can make it happen, more power to them. I like both guys. DS is actually a huge Carlos Prates guy. That's like a certified his boy. I randomly saw Carlos Prates at the club after UFC 319. He was a fucking blast. He was drinking, shirt off, smoking cigarettes.
He's exactly who you think he is.
Yeah.
I'm down. I'm all for it. Look, with Prates and Jack Della, I don't really care who wins. With Ian Gary, I would like for him to beat Islam. I just don't see it happening.
Same.
Dude, that's what it comes down to, I think. It's like I would be one of the first people to tell you that Ian Gary was elite back in the day. But when it comes to Islam, guys, I mean, elite just really isn't enough. I mean, you have to have the plan and you have to be able to execute. It's not just one coming in healthy, showing up. Like, bro, you actually have to go against the best fighter in the world right now, other than the dude that he's running from. That's a different story. But Thinker, what would you like to say about Ian Gary here?
Cool plan, bro. I mean, like, what's the saying? Man makes plans and God laughs. It seems like that's what this would be, but very few people planned for Yuri to get knocked out by a one-legged man. So, could anything happen? This is the most unpredictable sport on the planet. Crazier things have happened already in the sport. So sure, is it possible? And, if you got a million different multiverse timelines, of course, one of them would be this plan coming true. Are we living in that timeline? Probably not. But is it possible? There's always a chance.
You're speaking of the timeline we're in, and I'm actually glad you wrapped it back to Yuri, because at the beginning of the show, we talked about potential title opportunists. Who's going to be the 205 contender at this point? Well, if you guys didn't know, this was not leaked, but, it was just told a little bit ago, but we're bringing it back around town, bringing it around town. Robert Whitaker is stepping up to 205, and he has a fight. Now, listen, if the fight that he has made was was made before Saturday, I unfortunately would say it's not going to be Paulo Costa, but I would say, in my opinion, that would be the fight to make at 205 would be Rob versus Paulo, because Paulo with one win at 205 just doesn't scream title shot, even if it's just on a whim, like, oh, we got to give it to somebody. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. Unfortunately, all the other people don't make sense either. Reyes, who's off a win, not very good. Ankalaev makes sense. That would be one half of, an interim or some sort of case. But then you have the rematch between Gushkov and Jan Blachowicz, which, do they even deserve it? I mean, if Jan wins, I guess you could do Jan and Ankh too, even though it was a draw too. Like, it's kind of a weird spot. So what would you guys like to say about Robert Whitaker? Thinker, I can see you
Yeah, I was going to
bursting
say,
over there.
let me go for you're looking at now. This is coming from a huge Rob Whitaker fan. I am a major fan of Rob Whitaker. I think he's one of the good guys of the sport here. But you're looking at Rob Whitaker like he needs to be coming in at some high level in the division. I mean, Rob is coming off of losses here, man. I mean, and again, I'm a fan. I do think that there's potential for him to do possibly good things there. But I think that this is a bit of a desperation move to begin with, and thinking that we need to have some kind of red carpet rollout for Rob in the higher weight. I don't know if I necessarily buy that. And also, you're saying Paulo Costa as the possibility here, so we got two middleweights going up to another weight to fight there.
Yeah, I mean that's really what the reality is. But Bam Bam, what would you like to say about Paulo here? Moving up, or not Paulo? I'm sorry, Rob.
We just saw Robert Whitaker versus Paulo Costa, right? That was the chicken dance when he hit him with the head kick.
Yeah,
DS.
You're
DS
right about
here
that.
DS is a massive Robert Whitaker fan as well. That's like the actual his guy. Like for years now, one of his favorite fighters. DS was in Dubai when he fought Robert Whitaker. It was like 4 a.m. You were hitting me up watching that fight, just absolutely tripping. Look, man, it's unfortunate. Who doesn't love Bobby Knuckles? He's not winning a fucking title at 205. I think the matchup that kind of makes sense is Rakic at this point. I think he loses to Rakic as well, to be honest with you. He's a little too small for the division. A legend, man. Absolute legend. Shame to see the decline, but time comes for all of us, fellas.
Right. DS, we got to see what you got to say here. Go ahead.
I mean, look, Bam Bam said it. I'm a big Bobby Knuckles guy. Love the guy. He has not looked great. He has really not looked great lately. Also, he's been getting rocked. Now you're moving up to 205. Thinker, you said it feels like a desperation move. I agree. It does feel like a desperation move. I kind of would have rather see him go down, to be honest with you. Moving up to 205 is kind of wild to me. He is undersized for the division. This isn't one of those. It's not an Alex Pereira situation, right, where he's this huge guy and, he's just cutting less. So I don't love the move. I don't want to see him against Paulo Costa. We just saw that. Yes, it was a pretty close fight. I don't need to see that again. And like Thinker said too, I don't think it does much for either guy, right, in this new weight class. So, I think they kind of cancel each other out there. And I also agree, he's coming off a couple of, off some losses. I don't think he needs to fight somebody at the very tippy top of this division, right? So I think it'll be somebody that's in the rankings for sure. I don't want to see him fight somebody in the top 5, 6, or 7, so we'll see. But I don't love it.
Agenda, man.
Look, maybe I'm a shill. I'm a plant for Uzdemir, but I mean, based on what we're saying, right? I mean, that level of a fighter. If we're talking about somebody who has to be ranked, look, I definitely don't think
that. I like that fight.
And and if we're talking, you don't want to Bobby is a I would say at least close enough to a legend of the sport that you don't want to disrespect the guy. So if we're talking about it has to be someone ranked, then that 15 to 10 range is probably correct. I would say maybe 10 to 8. If we're talking the full on range of potentials there. So there's your menu right there. Pick whatever your poison is.
Yeah, I think there's some interesting ones to be made. It's just very hard to find a light heavyweight who's coming off of a win that is deserving, of a title shot. It's very unfortunate. But the thing about this next one that we're going to get into, because it ties right into 205, of course. This next one is a quick little clip, and I just want you guys to realize what you're seeing. And you'll definitely have some comments to make. So when you realize who this is and what you're looking at, I just want you to realize how far we've come, because this used to be somebody who was at 205, now has moved up to heavyweight. Now, Look how fucking skinny Alex used to be, guys.
How old was he there? Do you know?
This is
Yeah.
in the UFC.
This is
It
UFC
is?
middleweight Alex Pereira. Yes, absolutely insane. Like, I mean, just every portion of him looks completely drained compared to what we've seen of him at light heavyweight. And I want to give a shout out to Jeremy Hall because yes, he did have the last portion of this show to run down because Alex is massive now. I mean, I just showed you that video. Oh, sorry.
No, I was just I just wanted just to show that because yeah, I
Yes.
mean that was the comment, and I was going to ask about that.
I mean, and this is what he looks like now. I mean, it's pretty crazy. Like it obviously looks like the same person. It is the same person, but when you think about what he probably was going through to get down to that weight for what he's able, this is obviously somebody who's not at the point of their life where they're still, maturing and gaining a bunch of weight. Like he's already an adult who's got all of this adult, mass to him. So for him to get down to 85 at that point in his career, after a whole career of glory kickboxing, I'm probably sure he was probably competing close to that weight then as well. But like to just consistently make that weight, and how drained he probably was, and then how it ended with Izzy, and whatever the circumstances are, it's just insane to think that this is where Alex has taken his career. He's not just the guy who chases Izzy anymore. He's not the 205 champ. He's the guy who's wanting to be a 3 divisional champ. And what you see is what it takes right here. I mean, this is what a drained 85 person would need to do to get to, heavyweight. It's just crazy to me. So Diaz, what would you like to say first, if anything?
He's a fucking tank, man. I love Alex Pereira. He's an absolute unit of a man. How the fuck he made 185 is crazy. He looks like way less than 185 in that video you just showed me. I thought that was like 15 years ago or something. That is absolutely insane. So yeah, I mean, he does not look out of, he looks like he belongs at heavyweight. So
yeah. That's the craziest part. I mean, he filled out completely well for somebody who was transitioning to heavyweight. When you look at John Jones and what he transitioned to heavyweight, he just got a big old belly and built like a baby kind of deal. Alex Pereira fills out his frame. He clearly has been taking it very seriously and working out while he's, collecting all this mass. But Bam Bam, what would you like to say about Pereira here?
Yeah, man. Shout out Alex Pereira. Like, what a fucking legend of the game.
Even though he has us blocked.
Yeah, has us blocked on Instagram for God knows why. But look, dude, he's a fucking unit of a man. I was in the elevator with Alex Pereira in August, really randomly. Happened to be in an elevator with him, 2 UFC security guards, and my girlfriend, who's like 5'1", like 100 fucking pounds. This guy is a unit, dude. Like, holy shit, he's a big fucking dude. Like, fist pounded him, motherfucker's made of wood. Like, I don't know what it is. This guy is special, and I'll be honest with you, like, from watching UFC for all these years, like we go way, way back, me and DS with the UFC. I remember watching UFC 100 at this guy's house, and we had already been watching. So he is the coolest, most fucking unbelievable story I've ever seen in the UFC. He just came out of nowhere, did what he did. This guy is a superstar, but like he's the biggest star outside of Conor and Ronda Rousey that I've ever seen in this sport. And it's cool because he's doing it now. He came out of nowhere. And I don't fucking doubt this man. If he thinks he's going to win the heavyweight title, he's going to win the fucking heavyweight title.
I am absolutely on board with him getting the heavyweight title as well. He's not only seemed and has shown to be as determined. I mean, he's produced results, and he's headlined, 5 of like the most biggest cards of 2025, whatever the case may be. He was out there doing his shit, and I just appreciate Alex. I mean, again, you talk about nobody has ever done it other than Conor and Ronda. I have been vocal for my short time here. It has seemed to be that this is one of this is a superstar. This dude says one word and the whole world goes crazy. But it's just crazy to think about. Thinker, go ahead. What would you like to say?
I mean, really just piling onto those thoughts. The times that we have seen Pereira have adversity was during the reign of one of another legend of the sport, and then also a time in the midst of him being the go-to Mr. Save an event. It's like we're looking at now. This evolution into heavyweight is a progression that has been calculated, I believe, to be successful. If we had him versus Ankh in the first fight, and he was saying that he was sick, we saw what happens when he is well on the other side of that. This now full camp, full preparation here. You see the mass, you see the way that he is, like determined to win these things all the time. he's the real deal. He's the genuine article. And I've said many times in a number of Yama episodes, this is a dude who is consistently pushing his ranking on the GOAT list fight over fight. When he does this, when and if, I mean, always got to at least have the caveat of if, but when and if he does end up taking the heavyweight title, it's a solidification of one of the greatest legacies that we have seen and possibly will ever see in the sport of mixed martial arts. And that is all based on him being the genuine article. There's so many people in this sport who want to talk the talk and let that be the majority of what carries them into a position that they ultimately get to. This is a dude who barely speaks English and lets his hands do the talking and see where it has taken him. So when I say that to say, Josh Hokett out here saying, Chama these nuts, careful what you fucking wish for, because you're going to have to deal with the real deal at the top of the heap here. And I don't know if you're going to really like what you get out of that.
True. Yeah. I mean, and I don't know if anybody else has anything to add when it comes to Chama and his weight gain, or, what he was able to do to make it down to 85. But I mean, this was rounding out the last story that I had to bring around to you guys. I'm glad that we could end on obviously one of the greatest of our time and of our generation. And it just is so fitting for him to be on the White House card. And I'm actually just very happy to have this moment to realize that, like, the dude that I've watched obliterate so many different top level guys in multiple different divisions, he's genuinely going to be on the biggest premiered event that I've seen to date. Even UFC 300, I didn't know what that meant at the time, because UFC 300, cool, we're going to get 400, we're going to get 500, whatever the case may be. But the White House itself, for what this represents, Alex, not even being, he's a Brazilian guy, doesn't even speak English that much. He's going to be out there, not the main event, co-main event at that, still one of the greatest. And I'm just happy that I got to experience all of it. Let me just say it that way.
Well, and I was going to ask then, if we are rounding out the end of the show, obviously you and I, Chase, are going to talk about it on the podcast. But since we have our guests here now, how do you think that fight goes, guys? I mean, regardless of the winner necessarily, what do you think that fight is going to look like?
Go for it, Bam.
Yeah, for right now, and I don't necessarily know that this is one that, like, I need to watch film or that film really helps. It's two guys that we know exactly what they bring to the table. I side with Alex Pereira, man. I think it's similar to Ilia Topuria, right? With Ilia Topuria, I have no reason to question what he says is going to happen anymore. And, he said he was going to knock out Charles in the first round. He did it, and that's what I picked. And whatever Alex Pereira says fucking goes, man. I think he wins it. He is honestly, truly a unique, special person in this space. And I like what you were saying, where it's good to take these moments and appreciate them, because they're gone before you notice that they were even here. So shout out Alex Pereira, man. I love everything he's doing. He's cool as fuck.
Hell yeah. DS, what you got?
I just think he's different, man. I just think that power is different. That check left hook is fucking different. Yes, Cyril Gane is a legitimate kickboxer, right? And he's so light on his feet. I just don't think it's going to matter, right? I think Alex is going to be able to punish the legs. I think we see him get a knockout, honestly.
Yeah.
I think he knocks out Cyril Gane. I would say within 3 rounds. Cyril Gane looked pretty good last time out, but I just don't think he's got that level of power. Plus, like, there's no threat of a takedown or anything like that, right? So, I mean, it's going to be a striking match. And dude, Alex Pereira is just different, man. That power is just different. He's got like the touch of death,
Yes. Yeah, he's the what's it called from the movie Bloodsport, Thinker? What's it called?
The dim mock, yeah.
Yes, he does have the din mock, basically. Yeah, this is just such a great person to have at the top of the sport, is what I would say. I mean, he represents being a champion well, even though he's not the champion as of right now, vacated the belt, lineal champ, whatever you want to say. He is showcasing what being great is. There's a lot of fighters who talk about how great they are. They're going to get to the belt. They're going to retire. Raul Rosas wants to get to the belt at 25 and retire, whatever the case may be. Showcasing that you are great rather than leading us down a story that you are going to be great. Those are different things. There's people who walk in and are immediately showcasing how great they are. Diego Lopez is somebody that I would say is like that. He immediately showcased he's special. He deserves to be on his way somewhere different than a guy like fucking, whoever, your random jobber down the street. So I think Alex Pereira, just one of my favorites. And I'm, again, just super grateful that I got to experience somebody who I would say, for me, this is what I would say that people who experience Anderson Silva, the way he just embarrassed some of his opponents. That's what Alex does for me. He makes me feel like he is so above everybody else. Like all he has to do is just one shot and they have no counter to it. They have no answer for a guy who does everything just like everybody else, except he has the ability to knock people out with it. And I think it's just crazy. Alex, again, and speaking of the story, that was a great thing to talk about, his story, jumping into the sport, late, being, the kickboxer, coming over, chasing Izzy. There's just so many good things to latch onto about Alex. And he's just a real inspirational person, a real, relatable is not necessarily the term you can use anymore because he's a fucking superstar. I mean, he's above where, anybody thought he was going to be. And I think it just speaks to how good of a fighter he is because once again, doesn't speak English, has one fucking word that's his fucking, mantra. And he's the biggest star that we have currently active. And I think it's crazy.
There you go. Yeah. I mean, that's you said all that needs to be said to me. I think that we can leave it right there on that point. So with that said, guys, please get your plugs out. Get, everybody who's out there listening right now, if you're not following the 10-7 MMA, make sure you do that. Subscribe, follow on Instagram, all that. Guys, last words from you guys.
Yeah, I'll go real quick. I appreciate you guys for having us on. Awesome to be anywhere in the MMA space and talk to people and kind of get all of our thoughts and feelings out there and compare and contrast and all that. Thinker, I know you've been on the Saturday pre-show that we do. If I'm going to plug anything, it's going to be that, man. It's my favorite thing that we do over on our channel. To my knowledge, we're the only channel on YouTube that does a pre-show to the UFC card. So 2 hours before every prelim starts. So like 2 hours before the card starts, we go live and it's open format and it's open to all content creators in the MMA space. We've had massive channels, small channels, doesn't matter. Let me know you want to be on there. I'll get you on there. And we just talk about the card, man. It's kind of like this free-for-all, right? Less structured, I would say, but we go through it. So thanks, subscribe, Instagram, D107MMA. Yes.
You pretty much said it all, man. Thanks for having us, guys. This was really fun. Yeah, let's do it again.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for being on. We really appreciate it. A great conversation as we knew it would be. So really, really appreciate having you guys on as well. Of course, everybody, youtube.com/@Yama Show for me. Chase, where can they find you?
They can find me, youtube.com/@CP Smalls. And the last thing that I will say is this worked very, very well with 4 people. So once again, I appreciate you guys for coming through for us. We had a great time. I obviously came through with some hitters on the stories. Sometimes I don't think that the week's going to come together when it comes to these free-for-all, but you guys gave some great opinions and just everything that we got to talk about was keeping me here. Let me just say that, you guys are awesome. Appreciate it.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you very much for hanging out with us, everybody. We will catch you in the next one.
Hey.